Hello, folks, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Loss of Lieutenant. I'm your host, Kevin, and on tonight's show, I'm joined by fellow hosts
Jacob.
And Val.
G'day, gentlemen. That's me back behind the wheel after a month of being away. Thanks to Nick for looking after the podcast so well during that time. But I'm back in charge, folks.
You wouldn't have it any other way, would you?
No voting here. Dictator for life. No.
Let that sink in.
That was just a last minute thing. I was looking forward just to sliding on into Discord and letting Nick pull all the levers tonight, but unfortunately he has had a last minute parental thing. I guess he has to go be a dad to his kids, so
Yeah.
that's good. But it is we do have the three of us, so almost a full house. And on tonight's show, we're going to be finishing off the mission for ITS 14 that we didn't quite finish off last time with the direct action missions, and covering off on our recent 150 point slow grow event, and then I guess the broader discussion about smaller points games in Infinity. But first, as we always do, we will check in and catch up with our hosts and see what's been up to. So, Jacob, do you want to kick us off first? What's been happening with you in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, just doing some games. Obviously, I've been trying to help people out. The slow grow has brought out some of the newer players. So having a small game, trying to focus more on teaching someone something, then obviously, there's no point in just sitting there winning and telling them nothing. And trying to really, I want to participate in this slow grow. I want to get my tack on the table. I want to get them on the table properly painted. So I've been trying to really push myself into finishing them off.
What was the last army you fully painted?
My steel phalanx.
Right, and when did you finish them off? Like before, pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, because you were doing your tack during the pandemic, because when we were having the live painting sessions, you were working on your Gopniks.
Yep, my Gopnik tacks.
Yeah, right. So how far
Yeah.
through do you reckon you're on that now? Like,
I don't want to talk about it.
Percentage, right? Okay, fair enough.
I'm way too far back for how long I've had this going for. But I am. Yeah, I've gotten I don't know, bit of motivation recently to actually start putting paint to model, and getting them done. It's just taken a while because I'm also just trying to get better at painting. I got nice paints, I got nice paintbrushes. I might as well learn to actually use them properly. And actually try and do it quickly. So it is taking me a while.
You were playing around with airbrushing as well, weren't you?
Yeah, but also just like doing really small transitions. There was a guy on, I think it was the Infinity Global Facebook, he put up some tack that he did, and they were incredible. Not normal sort of Ariadna color scheme, so green fatigues and all that sort of thing, but it was just such a good paint job that I was sort of trying to, in my own garbage way, replicate it. And that's led me to have even paint them in sub-assemblies, which...
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's nice to see a really well-painted model done by yourself, but fuck me, does it take a long time.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, you're taking all the individual bits.
Yeah, a normal, the flak jacket or something that one of the guys wears. If it's underneath their gun, when you put them together, you can just sort of haphazardly try and get some green in there.
Don't have to bother with it really.
Yeah, no one will ever see it.
Yeah.
But when you see the entire model, you can't let it go. It doesn't matter where a bit is on him. You're just painting it fully.
Well, I mean, Ariadna is just slapdash some brown and green on there, and you're done.
Well, that's where I've kicked myself. Where I've tripped up, because I've done them as Gopniks, so they're all different colors as well.
Ah, right,
There's no point painting Ariadna. They're all camo. It's just a waste of time.
And then they die before they actually get to do anything.
That's right.
They reveal, and then you just remove them from the table.
I think the most you need to invest into is the camo marker. Just make sure you have some mint camo markers.
That's potentially true, but eventually you've got to put models on the table for at least that 1 second when they're there. And for that 1 second, you can wow your opponent into maybe making a mistake.
I remember when Red used to play and he was playing TAC and he had he went to Bunnings and got a bunch of inch dowel and just cut them into the right heights and then painted every dowel like in different camo colors. Which did two things. One, it looked good on the table, but two, because they were like 3D camo markers, you could actually figure out if you had line of fire and whatnot, and it was actually quite useful. Yeah. And a lot of them did just die when they revealed, so it didn't really matter. But we'll also get into that your discussion about new players as well, because I think that's going to be an important part of tonight's chat about smaller games and teaching new players how to play the game. So we'll get into that very soon. Val, what about you, mate? What have you been up to?
I had a game with Taj in Geelong. Had a couple practice games with Gareth at his place before the event on Sunday, and I played the best game of all, some Helldorado. So if you guys want to make this into a Helldorado podcast, I would happily take the lead.
We do not, but is that from Simon as well? No, yeah.
No, Helldorado it's a French game back in. It died in like 2009 or something like that. But yeah. But yeah, I've been playing a bit of Infinity here and there. But most of my games have come at the event, which is what we're going to talk about anyway. So.
Right. Okay. Okay. We're seeing a lot of your chest and your hair at the moment, Val.
Yeah, I'm pouring myself a beer.
Okay. Right. Just thought. Yeah,
I wish. Wear a low cut top next time.
Yeah, I mean, actually, from your bottom lip down, I could be like, I could get into that.
That's brilliant.
I could be like, this is all right.
So you enjoyed the Berlin nightlife?
Yes. I didn't really get to do much Berlin nightlife. I was sick for most of that part of Germany while I was there, which was unfortunate. Too many bretzels.
Yes.
Or something, just a lot of good food. What have you been doing? Any hobby, painting wise, or anything like that?
Yeah, I've been painting some Helldorado minis. I haven't been painting much Infinity, to be honest. I did do some non-metallic metal stuff on some bikinis with my friend Chris from Geelong. He's a really good painter. He's been showing me some stuff. But other than that, like when I just chill out and paint, I just slap some paint on like some fantasy minis, which is my Helldorado stuff.
Your Helldorado stuff, right? Okay. Yeah, no, I have seen that. I have been to your house obviously a couple of times, and I have seen them on the table, and I do, or at least on your desk. But I guess maybe they were confrontation minis or something because they look.
There's both, yeah. It's a coin flip, really.
Are they plastic or metal?
All metal. Yeah, everything's metal.
Oh, even Helldorado stuff is.
Yeah, everything was metal. Yeah, it was all metal stuff. So I've only worked with plastic when I got some Necromunda. That was the first time Malifaux and Necromunda was the first time I played with put plastic miniatures together. Everything else has been metal since like when I was 16.
You never played like original OG Necromunda? That was all plastic. Well, not all plastic.
Yeah, no, my first game was Confrontation.
Oh, actually, hang on. No, sorry, no. Necromunda wasn't plastic. It was only if you got like the really basic Goliath and Orlok gangs. Yeah, no, they were all metal too. God, that is going back. That's going back a long way. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, myself, like not much. Either. I've just been getting myself unpacked after moving in to our new residence up here in the north of Melbourne. Just got the hobby room kind of set up, but nothing's really unpacked. As you can see, my display case is empty. Everything's still in the boxes. But it's nice. It's a nice size room. It's going to be good for hobbying and doing the podcast and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to getting some use out of it. And then as for games, just similar to what Jacob was saying, I've been playing a couple of 150-point games at Axes and Nails and at House of War. I don't want to talk about too much at the moment, but I do want to say that I did take a newer player. I think he's maybe played a couple of games, maybe 3 games, he said, and we were like, okay, well, let's play 150 because you've gotten past the 3 Fusiliers thing, right? And he had no interest, I don't think, in playing Code 1. Because what was he playing? He was playing Hack Islam, which is now in Code 1, but he was wanting to look at Rama. But for the purposes of this demo, he was happy just to play with Hack Islam because he didn't understand link teams, which is fair enough. and I, I was like, okay, well, I'll put a list together that will kind of, I guess, test a few interesting parts about the game, like hacking, mines, that sort of thing, like just some interesting things. And I ended up, I think, unfortunately, just melting this poor guy's brain because in the first turn, I had moved a Lunacod through smoke, then
Mhm.
pushed out a crazy koala inside zone of control of three of his Gulams and a Quarige, and then like activated my hacker. On activated my hacker and was like, "What are you gonna do?" And he was like, What have you just done?" Like he had no idea what the fuck I'd done. Like he understood smoke.
Yeah.
He understood smoke, and then after that, he was like, Why is there this 55 millimeter robot like in my face, but I can't shoot it? And what's hacking and what happens if I hack back? And I was like, well, if I hack back, the crazy koala goes off. And then I proceeded to move out of the smoke with the Lunacod, and it was just all kind of messy. Like my intention was for it to be fun and cinematic and interesting for him to
Yeah.
understand, but I think I just set him up in a position where his brain was like, oh, I just want to shoot you, but if I shoot you, then I die. If I don't shoot you, then I die. So what the fuck do
Yeah.
I? So I think it wasn't a great introduction. Not that it was his first game, but I think I should have thought about that more before starting the game and maybe not done something so complicated. Um,
Mhm. But
And
hey,
but
and
you
here's
know,
me
we
worried
were both
about
learning.
taking. Here's me worried about taking T2 ammo and inspiring the leadership.
well, I mean, all those things I think can be a bit much for a new player to digest, especially when you've got like Raoul Spectre, who's a mimetism -6 model, and my opponent didn't take any MSV, so he's like, oh yeah, my guys are BS13. Oh well, actually no, they're BS7 now, and then he's like,
Mm.
but now I can't hit anything. I'm like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that was. I mean, to be fair, at the end of the game, we had a chat about it, and he said, "Oh, I wish I'd taken the Quarry's MSV2 because that would have like
Mm.
eliminated the smoke trick. It would have eliminated the Raoul thing." And I was like, "Oh, you understand like what to do next time." But I did
Mm.
feel bad leaving the game store at the end of the game, going, "I don't know if that guy learned anything other than that Infinity is really complicated, and I don't know if I want to keep playing it." So
Yeah.
a bit
Right.
of a warning out to people out there to like it might sound fun to you as a veteran, but it might be just mind-boggling and hard to grasp for a new player. Which I guess
Yeah,
we've all been through that ourselves.
Doing demos is a skill in itself, and like the more you do, the more you'll find
yeah,
what works and what's like, I guess how you I guess cut up the pie to make it digestible to a new player, so to
yeah,
speak.
Yeah.
Use
yeah. And
Hughes
there's also
Hughes.
the like balance you have to tread between making sensible decisions so they know sort of the flow of a game, but not just going ham and
Yeah.
like right out just killing them.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
I
learning
I,
experience for
I,
both.
I had a similar point in moment in my game where because the tables are so short that I got
Mm.
because I was playing Caledonia Highlander army. I got a Highlander all the way up into like his Dakini fire team, and I probably could have just had that Highlander just wipe his backboard. Maybe, who knows?
Mm.
But that's not the point of the demo game. So I got him up there, did one thing into my, and then I just left him.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I was like,
That's it.
I'll go show you other things.
Yeah,
Totally
that's
get
it.
with that.
Yeah, and I think in my game I was thinking, oh, I could push Raoul's little Harris team up and start killing his models, but I thought, no, I'll try this instead because I'll probably lose the Lunacod, but he'll learn he'll learn about
Mm.
positioning and whatnot. But of course, what ended up happening is Lunacod like tanked all its armor saves and kept going. And I was like, oh, you were supposed to die. So
Mm.
that's the dice though. But
I think that's a potential bonus of just the army I was playing is that I didn't have to introduce hacking at the same time,
mm, yeah, no,
um,
and we will get
which added
into.
another layer to yours. Yeah, we'll get into it later.
We will get into a bit more of that because obviously we want to save all this juicy information for the main segment. But I did want to, I guess, just touch on that little practice game and ways in which I could develop as someone who's teaching new players to better, I guess, give new players a better experience. So after that, we've got our challenges. So it's the 2nd of November at the moment as we record, so it's a new month, which means we have finished the old month of October, which was jump around. So it was the idea of it was to use super jump in your games of Infinity to try and leverage that underutilized, underappreciated skill, especially now in ITS 14 where it's had a bit of a glow up, kind of. Maybe not really. Basically, more profiles have it, so therefore it's around more. We ended up having 4 entries, so that was great. A lot of them had very similar. What's the word I'm thinking of? Content, in that the synopsis of it is super jump situationally useful, could be better. Was kind of what everyone kind of said. And our random winner was Hugh, our local Hugh here in Melbourne, who wrote a very interesting, short analysis on basically exactly that. In fact, his first iteration to me was he talked about it and he was like, "Oh well, at least down in ITS 14, a lot of the many missions, super jump now gets the extra inch." Because his point about it was, if you've got a 4-inch move, you've actually only got a 3-inch jump because you need that extra inch to get from a ledge to a ledge. And he's like, well, now if you've got 5-inch jump, you can jump a little bit further, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then I responded to the email going, actually, you don't get the extra inch from jump. And he was like, oh, okay, well, never mind then. My silver lining is not quite so silver.
He actually made a really good suggestion. I was speaking to him just the other day in person. He made a suggestion. He's like, I think it might be worth adding a snap feature to super jump. So basically, when you hit the ledge, you snap too. So that way you don't have to clear your base. He thinks he's suggesting that might make the skill a bit more useful, and it works.
A free 1-inch.
It works if you're jumping from building to building, which are the same height. I think it kind of breaks if you're jumping up. It's like, so if you're jumping up a ledge, does the top of your silhouette have to touch? And if it touches, then you snap too, because then that would give you like 1.5 inches or whatever.
Yeah, no, that would be a bit much. I think we talked
about. I think it's a decent solution, but it's an interesting solution. But yeah, I don't know.
It's just the point I think we were raising on the last episode was that currently with parapets, you've basically got to factor an extra inch in just to get over or under, or sorry, over or down from the parapet. And I think we were talking about maybe just at some point vault happens. So that would help that. But then you'd also need to then roll it into climb, and I just think it starts getting a bit messy, especially with different kinds of tables and whatnot. But exactly. I think but like the entries were good. We had one from Kyle where he was talking about using a Marut. And he said the Marut having an extra inch to super jump, the Marut having a 6-inch super jump is quite handy when you're armor 8. So you can jump 10 inches up onto a building, and if you take an arrow, you don't really care because you've got 3 wounds in armor 8, so it's not a big deal. And if you want to forgo your cover just to get a jump shot on something, it's perfectly reasonable to do that. So that was interesting. So we had those 4 entries, and Hugh was our random winner. So congratulations to Hugh. He wins a blister of his choice from Toy Soldier Imports.
Well done.
And then on to a new month. So congratulations, sorry. Thank you to Sam Benson, who's one of our Patreons, who submitted a suggestion on our Patreon chat here on Discord to talk about the new sensor bot, another unit that's gotten a bit of a glow up in ITS 14. Like last year it was bikes, this year it's the sensor bot. So
what a glow up it's been.
And quite the glow up. I mean, it's I don't know how much of a challenge this is going to be because everyone's running them anyway, but I guess the interesting part that we want to talk about on sensor bots and running them this month is to just talk about what value you're getting out of them, and then also talking about if you plan to run them once the season ends, because ultimately this is only a seasonal change, and whether or not you can get some use out of them outside marksmanship and the attack awareness that you get for free. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the ECM Hacker -3, if that's come in handy, or how the...
I've already had pretty great success with it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I
have
have
you got
two
have you
actually.
got an example? Have you got some examples?
Well, yeah, against Ryan, it worked really well. Where he had like I discovered 6 camera markers in like 2 orders.
Oh yeah, he did say yeah that, and that is something that we talked about last week, where it's a kind of a side buff to, or side nerf to camo
Yeah, to camo. Yeah, yeah,
because now
for
if
sure.
you're taking one in almost every list, it just goes 6-4, and then next order 6, and
Oh,
then just
yeah.
camo
But
reveals everything, which is
Reveals the whole. Yeah, yeah.
at Kevfinity, I did two of your models. Similarly, if you remember, you had a
yes. I got a Hawa and
bandit.
and a bandit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
Other
I
thing is,
actually did. I actually did have a situation where the -3 ECM came into
oh yeah.
-3 the hacking ECM came to help at the last round of Kevfinity, where I was fighting Phil, and what hacker was it? I think it was just like it was a regular,
Mhm.
a
Yeah,
regular
like an
hacker
Acon
because she was
regular. Yeah,
playing Incontimento.
Icons and
Um,
Acon. Yep.
Acontimento, yeah,
Shock
sorry.
army.
She just could not hack my I think it was a Rafik, the
Mhm.
Rafik with the Red Fury, just couldn't hack it.
Yeah, because what
Every single
these.
time
beyond tens or
she
whatever.
would roll, it was tens or something like that. I would either beat it with the reset on 13s,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep.
um, or she just failed the roll.
Yeah, or
Um,
your BTS is now
Yeah.
effectively 6 with it as well. So it's real.
Not
You
no,
big.
can.
it doesn't add firewall.
Does it not?
It's just ECM -3.
Oh.
It's not a 10 bot.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the same thing.
Oh wait, actually, does it add? Yeah, that's the one.
I thought it did the same thing as a Timbot, but wasn't a Timbot because you can't use it to extend to a fire team. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
No,
Has
because
it?
the 10 bots specifically give you firewall.
Right. Well, you can look that up while I finish off talking about the challenge. So yeah. So here's some examples of how you can use the new sensor bots, or not the new sensor bots, but the new rules on sensor bots. So as always, send in your thoughts, analysis, battle reports to us at lossoflieutenant@gmail.com. Please put it in a Google Doc. Don't just paste it to the email body. Please don't put it in a Microsoft Word. Just link it, make it so that we can view it as well. And send it in to us before the end of the month to go into a random draw to win a blister of your choice.
Remember, if you want us to read it, you want to be a Patreon.
A Patreon.
That's not true. I was just saying that we don't actually check the entries from people who are not Patreons. I'm just trying to get to check out people.
Well, I mean,
A local miser, Val.
probably a
no,
good time to remind everybody that yes, you can be one of our Patreons by signing up to Loss of Lieutenant on Patreon for as little as $3 dues a month.
Swear to God, we have to stop this.
Um,
I was more joking. I don't actually. Jesus.
no, we always want more Patreons, right? Like it helps
That's
pay for this
true.
podcast. It helps
Yeah,
it helps keep the money coming in so we can send out awesome prizes. So yeah, $3 a month. You get access to our Patreon chat. You get access to watching this live show unfold. You get to suggest content for episodes, suggest content for challenges, and you should also receive a patch. But I think we have been a bit lax on that one, so we'll look into that one. And if you haven't received a patch from us, please let us know, and we'll get one sent out to you. All right, so that one out of the way, we've done those, and of course our Q4 challenge is still running until the end of the year, which is to paint up one of the new ITS 14 extras, which includes the CSU, Corsair, and the sensor bot. We will need a 1 before picture and up to 4 after pictures, and please send it. Please don't post it anywhere else. You can come onto our Discord and you can post it in the whip chat, and if you're a Patreon, you can post it there. But please don't post it to the Infinity Facebook page or anything like that, because we would like it to be new for the contest. And a random winner will be selected at the end of the year to win a small box set of their choice. And again, send it in to us at lossoflieutenant@gmail.com. With preferably JPEGs. You can obviously combine them into a collage if you want as well. If you want to, because that just counts as one picture. You don't have to do 4 individual pictures. You can do 4 multiple angle pictures if you want, as long as it's just 4 pictures, so 5 in total if you include the before. Anything on that, guys? Have you been painting up CSU or Corsair for this challenge?
No, I do have one of the IR models which I might paint up for it, but I'm not sure yet.
As
Yeah,
a Corsair or a CSU?
That would be a CSU.
Okay.
I mean, I got a nice. I got a CSU. I'm pretty happy with the way she's painted up from playing OSS. But at Kevfinity, I did get the dual box of Bashi bazooks.
Oh.
Which will double potentially as Rafiq's because I think they look a little bit more assassiny.
You mean Rajiks?
Yeah, that's what I said, isn't it?
You said Rafiq's, which is the remote. Rajiks are the
Oh,
and we say that Toha are hard to remember who's who.
But yeah, no, I've got him and I'm thinking of painting one of them up just to test the Assassin's color scheme as well as get a Corsair painted up.
Yeah, now you mention it, I've got a shitload of blisters in my drawer that I was just saving. Oh yeah, like I got the old Tuareg. I don't think it really counts for anything these days. I don't think I'll be doing that. Yeah, I've got some models I should probably use. Yeah, I need to find them. Yeah, because I should get some painting. Back on. I haven't touched a paintbrush in well before I even left for holidays. All right, so that's out of the way. On to event announcements. So, quick correction from last episode. I think I may have said that CanCon was on the 28th of January, but that was a lie. That is not when CanCon is. CanCon is the 21st and 22nd of January 2023. So apologies to the event organisers for putting that out in the last episode and immediately going, oh shit, that's not the right day at all. So so the 21st, 22nd of January, it's part of the CanCon Con. There will be an Infinity event at that. The 5 missions are, gentlemen, seeing as you got, well, one of you is going to this.
Oh, Jesus. Putting me on the spot.
Mate, you should fucking know this.
I believe
it
it's
is
unmasking, acquisition. Unmasking, acquisition, supplies, supremacy, and hygienics. Bang, nailed it.
Okay, yeah. So in order: acquisition, unmasking, supplies, supremacy, and cryogenics. So
is that what I said?
I think it is what you said, but I couldn't tell because Jacob was talking over you. So how much are tickets?
65, and they're all gone.
They're all gone.
They're all gone.
They're all gone.
I don't think they're all gone, but seriously, sign up, people. Sign up.
Yeah.
Sign up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will not be going. Unfortunately, I have work commitments on at the beginning of January, so I will have to miss this year. But good luck to.
Is it not being held over the Australia Day weekend like it normally was?
No, because the Australia Day is on like Thursday. So it's not. It's not gonna land on either. It's not gonna land on a public holiday. So yeah, I'm going to be away.
Take days off, people.
Yeah, I'm going to be away that weekend. But we sounds like we've got a fairly good contingent of people going up for it.
I think so. We got about 8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah, cool. And how's things going with getting the bus? You were talking about doing that last time.
Love to get a bus. I haven't looked into it at all, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. Yeah, I'll probably make a chat throughout this weekend, and then just see who's actually keen on a bus. Be fun. We have 2 people with licenses who can actually drive it, so I reckon it'd be a good time. But yeah, just gonna take.
How big's the bus? If it's only like a 16, it's only a 16 seater. You don't need a special license for it.
You do. You need a light rigid.
Oh, I've driven those buses before. No one's ever asked me for in Scouts, they've never asked me for that.
Well, there you go. The only other thing though is with the buster, what makes it hard is if people are staying in different venues. That's the thing. So you probably need to organize accommodation and everyone to go on the bus.
That makes sense. Yeah. So
yeah,
anyone who's going to CanCon from Melbourne, please all coordinate and book your accommodation as a group. That would be a good idea. Because also it means that you all go back to the same place and you can play board games and drink together rather than being alone in a hostel or whatever. Oh, although let's be honest though, Val will just be at Woolshed.
Fucking
Like,
right.
it's not going to be anywhere else. Is that what it's called? Is it called Woolshed, or am I thinking the one in Adelaide?
No, it's what's it called? Oh, Jesus Christ! It's been a couple of years since we've been, haven't we? Oh fuck, what's it called?
It's something equally
Come back
like
to me.
country-like, isn't it? It's
Come
probably
back
got
to
it's
me.
probably got a mechanical bull in it for all, most likely. No.
That'll have some
Canberra's a
organic
very
ones as well,
Canberra's a
hopefully.
very classy place.
Yeah,
Um,
anyway.
so yes, we got CanCon on that weekend. The 21st, 22nd of January. Then we have before that we've got the Geelong event, which is happening
This Sunday,
this Sunday. So this Sunday, which is what date?
the 6th.
The 6th of November. So it's the
6th
through the
November, the store championships. I think it's the 6th November. Let me quickly check my calendar. Yes, it is. And basically, yep, 300 points. We've got, so basically 3 games. It's I guess, to celebrate the end of the year. Um, Throw the dice are putting on events for the main systems that are played in store. Infinity is one of them, and yeah, we're hoping to get hopefully 10 to 12 people. And then yeah, we got 8 signed up already, and hopefully a couple of Melbourne stragglers come through last minute, and we get up to 10 or 12 people.
I'm
Should be a
sure
good time.
I'm sure people from Melbourne will make it last minute. And it's on the Sunday, right?
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
Sunday. That's kind of unfortunate because going to Geelong and then coming back on Sunday and then start having work on the Monday is a bit tough. But it'll be a good time. So yeah, get on down.
Yeah, cool.
Moose Heads, that's the one. Thank you very
Mooseheads.
much.
Who was that? Was that Wana saying that? Moose
Moose Heads, that's
Heads,
the
of
one.
course, right.
Yes.
And then we've got our second slow grow as well. That's on the 27th of November, I believe. If I can get that right. Yeah, Sunday, the 27th of November. There's no mission lineup
225
for it yet, but it's
points.
going to be 225 points. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
no
Yeah.
restrictions. So the last event we had on Sunday had restrictions, which we'll get into. But this one will be no restrictions, 225, and we had 26 players, so we've got like last time. So this one it will be at least that, hopefully, because hopefully more people will have their armies painted by then too. Hopefully I will have some Starmada assembled and painted by then.
Yep, absolutely.
And then, yeah, if you want to sign up to Slowgrow, that's on Facebook. We can also send a link in the Victoria Discord page. And for the Geelong event as well, you can get that on Facebook. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah, it's all over
Yeah.
Facebook, so I've put it up.
Cool. Okay, and lastly, before we get into the meat of the episode, lastly, before we get into the meat of the episode, we just want to do a quick mailbag. Actually, we haven't ever done a mailbag before, but we're going to do a mailbag right now, and that's to thank Ash from Gorilla Miniatures Games for a very lovely email he sent us last week, just to say that he appreciates our podcast and he thinks that we're doing a great job, and that filled us with a warm and fuzzies since I've been watching Ash do battle reports for Infinity since I started playing. And to hear that coming from him is really nice. So big up to Ash. He does a great job for the community for every war game. I don't know how that guy plays. Like he just like so many games that guy plays. It's amazing.
And then he talks about going to like tournaments and stuff. It's just incredible. But yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I mentioned it in our group chat. I pretty much learnt to play Infinity watching Radio Free Neo Terror.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to I learned to play Infinity badly from Ash because there wouldn't be an episode that would go by that I would go, hang on, I think that rule's wrong. And
but it's like our episodes as well. Like we don't have an episode where we don't have to create
I mean,
right?
I'm not like not throwing any shade. I mean, he's well aware of it. But I mean, that's what happens when you're recording and like playing, and you're gonna get stuff wrong. But yeah,
I've been watching Ash as well for a long time. So no, that was a huge compliment. So yeah, big thanks, big thank you. And if he listens to this episode, hopefully he does another Arena Rex episode. That's an awesome game as well.
Oh,
another dead game.
Another dead game.
Is he based in the US or is it Canada?
US.
I'm
pretty sure it's US.
Pretty sure it's Canada. I mean, it's always better. It's always safer to say Canada, right, rather than the US. I think that's a safe.
I might be mixing up my mini wargaming channels.
I mean, he sounds Canadian.
But,
I'm pretty sure he says a boot when he's talking.
Boot.
But, yeah.
Boot.
Anyway. But anyway.
It was awesome.
Anyway.
Big Yeah, it was very nice.
Oh, okay. Oh, one more thing before we get into the direct action missions. We did also want to point out or shout out that we did our Warcrow demo last week when that dropped on TTS. CB created the demo in the same way that they did for Tag Raid. So myself, Jacob, Nick, and one of our Patreons, Obiscus, jumped on to TTS and we played through the demo mission, which was a hell of a lot of fun. Actually, really enjoyed it. It took a couple of hours, I guess, because we were getting used to the mechanics and the rules, but it was super streamlined. The app kind of told you most of what you needed to do, which was really great. Not too many errors really. But yeah, it was great. Jacob, do you have anything you want to say on the Warcrow demo?
Yeah, no, I was surprised I enjoyed it as much as I did. But once we got into it, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um, it was, yeah, it was pretty simple. I mean, and my favorite thing, we talked about how we really liked the initiative wheel.
yeah, the
And the one
initiative
thing I
tracker.
really liked it. Yeah, and the one thing I really liked that is the flipping of so like the orders on the initiative. So players always go first when the round starts, but at the end of the round, all the monsters go first.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like when you get much more complicated battles, thinking about the fact that you're going to get hit first the next time, your initiative comes around, even if um yeah, by the time your initiative comes around, so you got to think about that sort of stuff.
I
That was
th
good.
I think yeah, the initiative tracker was really cool. It was very dynamic.
Mm.
It's not like a lot of games where it's Jacob goes, I go, Val goes, monsters go. Right? It was like
Yeah.
that. That's how it is at the start. But then, depending on what actions you do, it can push you further around the wheel to the point where you actually, it might go me, Jacob, Val, monsters, then like Jacob, monsters, Val, me, right? Depending on like if you do additional actions that kind of I guess
Yeah.
fatigue you, then you have to like wait longer, and there's kind of this like leapfrogging of your tokens on the tracker where you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm going here, and then stuff happens and it changes. So I really like that dynamic nature of it, and I feel like that there's lots of room for that to grow and be implemented with other encounters and other like potions, for example, like where you would like go up the wheel as opposed to down the wheel. And did your character Jacob have like some kind of power where it allowed itself to like, oh no, I think it was next dwarf where I
Yeah,
think
Nick's
yeah,
dwarf had the
as
amulet, the like
Yeah,
13th company amulet.
yeah,
Amulet,
like
yeah.
Azoka would be like normally attacking last, but she could use her amulet to like move one up the wheel, which could be really important if it was basically her or the monsters, then she could potentially go before the monsters. So that was really neat. The energy allocation was really cool as well because it's not just like move attack or attack attack. It was like depending on, and every character was slightly different in the
Yeah.
triggers, I guess, of the actions. Sometimes it would allow you to displace yourself and then attack. Sometimes it would allow you to like charge up and then attack, or like a bunch of different stuff that you could do, and it was really up to you how you wanted to spend your energy. The one thing that I think we got wrong, or not got wrong, but it took a bit of time for us to figure out was how you actually did an attack, right? Because it was
Yeah.
something to do with the every like six. There's like six rows, and then every row has like you have to fill up, or six. Yeah, you have to fill them up with 3 energy in order to do an attack, and you had to fill it
Yeah.
up,
You
right?
had like a certain bar you fill up on each row.
That's right.
And generally when you did the rows with less that you needed less energy to activate, those were the ones that would force you to go another initiative forward
That's right.
before you ended your turn and then applied your initiative to figure out where you are in the like following initiative order. But what that allowed you to do, and what we did a lot, is it allowed you to spend, let's say, on one row you spent two, you got some little bonus.
Mhm. And,
Um,
and and
and
obviously, like
then on the
importantly,
next row,
attack.
it would, yeah, and then on the next row, especially me, because I was a ranged character, on the next row, I'd go another initiative forward, but because it only required one energy, I get two attacks in a turn.
Yeah, so you get to basically shoot your arrow twice, and then you've got like a special ability that actually allows you to shoot two different targets as well. So you can like shoot them effectively
Yeah,
two each. Like basically four times you could shoot.
I could shoot 4 times
Yeah.
effectively. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was interesting. That was really cool. The we did
One
we
one
did
thing we didn't really talk about much in like our post game thing is the monster like AI that they had. I really liked the monster AI. It was really clear. You knew exactly what the monster was doing.
Yeah, no, that's right. It was
Um,
it was based on
it,
like their distance from you, right?
yeah, it reminds me, if anyone's ever played it, it reminded me of like a family friendly version of God, what's it called? Kingdom Death.
Oh, right. I haven't played that game, but I've heard people talk like reference
It
it.
it's very similar, at least as far as how the monsters work. They've sort of got their own little AI that determines on what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but obviously, CB, being CB and not the guys who make Kingdom Death, it's a more family friendly version of that. But it feels very the same as in terms of the way the monsters at least move on their initiative spots.
Speaking about family friendly, when we were reading, like, the app kind of gives you the preamble for it, right?
Oh,
And fucking me, it was just like quite violent. Like there was, like
the
this,
beggar.
this child's being kidnapped, and then like there's just
Uh,
blood and bones on the street, and then yeah, and then not to spoil it, but then like there's like a thing that happens with the beggar, and it's very gruesome, and like they've really gone to quite a lot of like lengths to like make it quite graphic, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? This is
if you've got a powerful imagination, um, you might give yourself some nightmares at one particular point
yeah, I've
in the damn campaign.
and it's actually funny because I've just Corinne and I just sat down last night to watch Cabinet of Curiosities. It's just dropped on Netflix, the new horror anthology. And it's very like I love that kind of horror because it's very H.P. Lovecraft, and the
Okay.
monsters in this game are very similar to the monsters that are in the Cabinet of Curiosities. Like very, like they don't have faces, but they've got tentacles coming out of them, and they're
Like a body
possessing,
horror sort of thing.
yeah, real like creepy, weird shit. And I
Mm.
just immediately saw it and was like, oh yeah, like it kind of reminds me of the Warcrow monsters. So yeah, that was cool. We were gonna say what was the thing? Yeah, there was a couple of issues I think with the app. There were some typos I think where we got confused with when you are stunned. I think it says you've got to use your strength on TTS, but in the rulebook it
Yeah,
says you got to use your willpower or your
perception.
perception. That's what it is. So there was a couple of
Yeah.
typos there, and obviously we didn't read the rules properly, and we only put down two enemies when there should have been four. But that's kind of one of those things where it's not actually written anywhere
I
in the
no,
book.
I think we were okay with the two enemies because the app only had two enemies.
Ah, no,
Because if there
it's
were
not.
more, we would have had more tokens,
No,
wouldn't
no,
we?
it does say two enemies, but if you look at the enemy card at the bottom of the enemy card, it says 1, 2. Right? And if you look at the
Ah,
rules, it says the rules said the card will tell you how many enemies to put down based on the number at the bottom of the card. And I didn't read that. We just read the app, but it just says put down 1 unit of card of
okay. So
marked.
it's like a squad.
It's like a unit, yeah, exactly. And apparently, Defiance is written in a similar way, but I haven't actually played through the Defiance one, so didn't think about that. So we got that bit wrong. I think it's not a big deal, but it's something if you're not because the app's so good, you don't feel like you have to read too many of the rules, and because a lot of what you do is written on your card, you may be forgiven for not reading the rules thoroughly. So there's a little bit of that where I think you do still have to reference the rules to get the full picture. It's not going to be everything. Everything's not going to be on the card in front of you. So I think it's just something to bear in
Yeah.
mind if you play the game, to read everything, and don't just assume. So,
Mm.
but I mean, it was inevitable we were going to get something wrong. But it did make the game a lot easier for us. We
Yeah.
having like half the number of enemies to kill was a lot easier than dealing with
I mean, we
four of
did
them.
we did have Nick being an absolute hero going down just near the end.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was the dwarf Azoka. and got taken down by the big Gribbly at the end. But then I revived him with my or her with my because I was the healer. I can't remember her name now, but she's pretty cool. I quite like her. I like playing healers in RPGs
Ludivine.
anyway. Ludivine, yes. And got Ahsoka back up, and then Ahsoka was like, "Fucking keep smashing this beast," and then other things happened.
It
But
ran away.
we're not. Oh, okay, yeah, it ran away. I was gonna say we're not gonna tell you because you should get on and play the demo as well. Although the Kickstarter has now ended, so I guess if you haven't already pledged, then your time is up. You're gonna have to wait now till 2024 to get the Warcrow Adventures pledge. Did any of you guys back it? Val?
No, not me. No.
No,
I didn't.
I put $1 down in case I change my mind. I'm not sure it's going to change my mind because as much as I enjoyed it, I just don't think I've got the time for a new game. And I'm really interested in Warcrow, but I'm not. I think we mentioned it in the last episode. What Nick said was the full game's going to be out next year. So why are we waiting until 2024 to get the dungeon crawler? Unless you just really want those limited edition miniatures. So yeah.
Or just you want a board game that you've got a group of 4 people to play with. So
I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, it's just going to become another board game that I don't play, unfortunately.
Exactly. Unfortunately, yeah.
And so that's that. So yeah, that was really fun. If you guys are interested and believe it's still up there on TTS, if you want to get a little bit used to the combat mechanics, I highly recommend getting into it. All right, folks. Well, that's about it for the preamble. We're going to have a quick break before we get into talking about the direct action missions. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Okay, so we're going to jump into the direct action missions. We didn't get through them on the last episode, but we're going to jump into them now. So, for those of you who don't know, direct action missions are 4 new missions that are added into ITS 14 that are basically the same as 4 existing missions, but minus the classifieds. And then they've added this new thing called key ops, plus a couple of other little bits and pieces to differentiate them from ITS. So, we all got to play these on the weekend, so we all have a rough idea of how they are, but we'll go through them one by one, starting with Battleground. Does someone want to take Battleground away?
Yeah, it's
I'll go for it.
basically.
Why not? Go for it, man. No, you go for it, man.
Cool. Anyway, it's frontline basically. So it's a mission where the middle zone is divided into 3 strips. And you obviously get the most points for having the furthest, or the one nearest your enemy. But unlike the standard frontline, there's a key ops, and the key ops is a way where you can earn some extra objective points. So basically, if you kill the enemy key ops, you get 2. If you threaten the enemy key op, so you end within 8 inches at the end of the game, you get 1 objective point. And other than that, it's pretty much the front line. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So what does the being a key ops? How does a key ops work?
Key ops basically gives you a tactical awareness order to one of your models, and it gives you +3 dodge.
And what can and can't be a key ops?
Just like basically you can't be I think a rem or I think no, you can't be a regular.
No.
I think a regular or
You can't be a marker.
Yeah. So
can't be a marker. Is that the
yes.
restriction?
So players are not allowed.
I think you're right with the regular as well. Yeah.
Players are not allowed to choose troopers in hidden deployment or in a marker state. This trooper must always be on the table as a model, not as a marker. Also, irregular troops and those troop type is REM are also not eligible to be key ops. So very similar to the data tracker rule we had back in season 10 initially, but now we get this dodge +3 and attack awareness. Important thing to mention, the dodge +3 is not cumulative with any other dodge bonus that you may have. So you cannot make dodge +6. It does specifically say that. These special skills are not cumulative. If the trooper already has them, then they are not applied. So,
you also can't double up on attack awareness.
Oh yes, yeah, that's very true as well. You cannot double up on attack awareness either. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you say, it's just basically like frontline. I don't mind the idea of the killing the key ops, but the key ops himself doesn't actually do anything for you in the game other than be a model with an extra order and +3 dodge. So it's fine. It's like you say, in frontline you normally get 4 classifieds, whereas now it's two for the key op, and I think there's one more for the farthest sector and one more for the middle sector. So it's actually an awful lot like how frontline used to be in season 13, but with instead of the two classified objectives, they've just got kill the enemy key ops. So yeah, it's fine. It's pretty straightforward. Next up, we've got Cutthroat. So
I was just going to say quickly, it's interesting that I find the threatened key ops interesting because we've had obviously with the cryogenics to threaten the HVTs and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, threatening's
But to
becoming
have
more
like
prevalent.
threaten an active model is interesting.
Yeah, threatening's becoming more prevalent in games. I think it was first seen in. Sorry, I just opening a beer. First seen in Dire Foes missions, where you're threatening an HVT. Now you're threatening a model. So yeah, it does mean like you're kind of incentivized to just keep the key ops in your DZ and not do anything with it. Maybe use its tac aware order just to move from your deployment zone into the nearest zone, and they just put them on a rooftop where they can't get killed because they obviously give up points if they're near enemies or get killed by an enemy. Alright, Jacob, do you want to do Cutthroat?
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, Cutthroat is pretty much firefight.
I actually think it's more like decap, but it's actually it's actually like neither really.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix of both. Yeah, so
it's like decap but without the HVTs.
Yeah, so you get a bigger deployment zone in it. The objectives are kill more army points than your adversary. Right.
Either or, mate.
Kill the same number of lieutenants or lieutenants. Kill more lieutenants. And kill more enemy troops with your key ops than your adversary does with theirs. Which I think is sort of replacing that kill specialists that you might have had in, I think...
Firefight.
In firefight.
Yeah, but then also in decap, I think you get...
Right, yeah, I can see what you're saying about it being more like decap, yeah.
Yeah, because it's got reinforced tactical link, which firefight doesn't. Yeah. So no loss of lieutenant in this one. But and then again, you've got the key ops. Now, what I really like about this mission is excuse me, is that to kill more enemy troopers with your key op than your opponent does is quite a new. I don't think there's any other mission that has done that. I'm thinking maybe Hunting Party might have had something similar to this, but because it's models and not points, it means that like, it's I kill a tag with my key ops and then you kill a 7-point flash pulse bot, then we're both on 1. Like
I think maybe the most we ever had was kill a data tracker with your data tracker, maybe.
Something like that, yeah. So this one's kind of interesting because
you can double tap people who are just unconscious, so you can go around shooting dead bodies and just double tapping. That still counts.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, because then they are killed at the end of the game. Yeah.
And it should be pointed out that if you look at these, especially like because I'm looking at them on my conlog app, is that they are in that particular case that he's got them sized still for 300 points. Not for what we'll talk about later, which is smaller games.
That is a really good point. Comlog doesn't seem to have it sized for smaller games, which it is important because it does change it. I really like this mission. It's straightforward, but I think the element of killing more enemy troopers with your key ops does bring a separate different element to it, because you're not necessarily just going to put it on your tanky in your biggest piece. It might be on. You might have to be a bit more finesse with it, I guess. What do you think, Val? Did you play this mission on the weekend? Did you like it?
Yeah, no, I like all the missions. They're all great. They're great, like entry level missions. It encourages you to kind of use your key op in an aggressive way, which is nice. But obviously, you have to be careful, because if the enemy kills your key op early, and then then they know how many kills they need to get with theirs to get those points over you. So it's a nice little balance. So,
that's true.
Great mission.
There's I guess there's 4 points being locked out. If you kill my key ops, then I'm basically locked out of 4 points. So yeah, it's interesting, especially if it doesn't happen until turn 3, it can really swing it. So it's cool. Next up we have superiority. which is basically supremacy. Um, really. So yeah, four quadrants, consoles in the middle of each quadrant. Push the quadrant with a specialist or a hacker for the bonus. And then the only real difference from that one to supremacy, from supremacy to this mission, is at the end of the game you have a dominant key ops. So essentially you have to have a key ops dominating a quadrant for an additional point. Doesn't seem like an awful lot of, doesn't seem like a much of a reason to do it. Like it's essentially just replacing the one classified you would get normally. So it's sort of, it's fine. You do get the security detachment in this mission, which is also fine. But yeah, it's essentially supremacy. Dominant key op is might be good in a tiebreaker. I know when I played it on the weekend, we'd both forgotten about that rule until we finished the game, and I think I'd killed my opponents, but I had mine, and that basically took it. It basically kept me within 2 points of him, so it was a good little difference there. I don't mind it. Any thoughts from you guys?
No, like I said, I enjoyed all the missions. With this one, um, again, the key op is like kind of important. So you always want like, I guess when let's build for any of these missions, you want like one model that can take advantage and be a good key op. So you kind of want like that, something with like a decent stat line, I think.
Yeah, no, I agreed. It's 1 point, which doesn't sound like an awful lot, but because it's at the end of the game, it could be all the difference between a draw and a win, or a narrow loss and a draw, for example. So it's it's still important to kill the enemy key ops and stop and make sure you have one, because I guess that's a more of a 2 point swing. And then finally we have uplink center, which I think is the same as an acquisition. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually exactly the same. You get the Corsair, so that's cool, and then you have this weird rule which I don't know why it just isn't a key op rule. But at the end of the game, have an active lieutenant, and what the rule for that says is, oh, zoom in here. At the end of the game, a lieutenant is active if they are not in any null state, unconscious, dead, isolated, or any immobilized state. So that's a bit different from normal because, they're including isolated and immobilized in here. But what I find, like, why?
I was just thinking, is it really even possible for the person who goes first
Exactly.
to
No,
yes,
kill
yeah,
the
you can.
lieutenant?
Yeah, you can, because
yeah.
you don't
Dominate the start of the
you don't
turn.
nominate
Oh,
until the start of
yes,
your
you're
turn.
right. Yes.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a missed opportunity from CB. Why didn't they just make that an active key ops? Because the difficulty with the lieutenant is the lieutenant changes every. If you go into Lost Lieutenant, you go that turn without it, and then the next turn you get him back. So if you kill the lieutenant in turn one, it means fucking nothing for active lieutenant unless you can somehow.
You've lost the game.
Yeah, and unless you're like unless you're put them into retreat, I guess, because then I guess they don't have the lieutenant at the end of the game. But if they'd made it the key ops, it's way more simple, because then you've got one model you have to go for. You can kill them on turn one, or turn two, or turn three. It doesn't matter. Whereas this one, it does matter. You might as well just not. Like there's no incentive to do it early, and other than it obviously being their lieutenant and it being an important thing to kill. So I just thought it was a strange one when they've got.
It's a strange rule, but meh.
The other three
If
missions,
one point.
the other three missions all have a key op. So why not this one? That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
If you had a bunch of chain of commands, could you just complicate someone trying to get this point? Because every single time, also stopping you from getting that point, because every single time you'd automatically get a lieutenant.
I guess so. Yeah.
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 It's niche. It's 1 point. And like to kill someone's lieutenant is like, meh.
Yeah, it's
Especially on the last
weird.
turn. Like, yeah.
You're right. It probably should have just been have your key ops alive.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's fine. It's whatever. All right. So that's the 4 missions done. Val, you said that you like these missions.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. I think we had a good time.
Here's a question for you on these missions. So you like them. they're not super dissimilar from the ITS missions. So first question is, do you like them more than the ITS missions?
No, they serve a different purpose though. They're like the entry level missions. They don't
In
need a classified deck, and they don't have a classified deck,
That's
and
it.
they're
That's it, Val. That's the only difference. So they're not
Well, they,
they're
they
no,
not
don't
so
they
they're
have a
not so
HVT.
they're not entry level then.
they are entry
They're
level
not entry
because
level.
They,
Like,
they are. They are. Some of them are like a tiny bit simplified. So I
are
was.
they?
I was.
In
Because
what
I was
way?
taking a look. Well,
uh,
for I think cut. Yeah, cut for cutthroat. Um.
They're
Oh,
all
maybe.
related to the
Don't tell me.
they're all related to the lack of HVTs and classifieds. Now, if you're gonna tell me that a classified objective is somehow more complicated, it's maybe just like a
no.
classified decks are harder to find.
The entry level in the sense that out of the 20 missions or 21 missions in the ITS pack, the four simplest missions are frontline, firefight, supremacy, and acquisition. They also introduce mechanics of the game which are diverse from mission to mission whilst not complicating the game too much. So for example, frontline is basically a territory grab, while supremacy is a territory grab with a button you push. Firefight's like annihilation, but with a little bit extra to it, for example, the key op thing. Well, acquisition is like basically the button pushing plus the killing
So
sense.
why not just have why make these missions then? Because we already have those missions. You just said they're the same.
Yeah, but they're basically they're good entry level for players to then not have to learn a whole new mission because it's like
No, no,
taking
no,
the
no, no, no,
simplest
no, no, no,
missions
no,
and
no, no,
pushing.
no, no. Hold on. You're not making any sense. These are the same missions as Supremacy, Firefight, or Decap, right? The only difference is HVTs and classifieds. So why?
So so basically, I think look, I don't know why CB did it, but basically my understanding is that they wanted to provide direct action missions to be the good entry level missions, right? And the best entry level missions are supplies,
Yeah, no,
supremacy,
you've
frontline.
already said that.
Yeah.
So why not just say the four entry level missions are supplies? 'Cause it's actually not supplies.
Because they dumbed
Supplies.
them down even further. They dumbed them down even further
So
to make it even more entry level.
but you don't know. But okay, so yeah, so they're for entry. So you're saying they're for entry level.
Yeah, that's what they're for, and yeah, I think they work well in that purpose.
Because it makes me wonder what their end goal is, because like people keep complaining that they can't get access to classified objectives, so they've removed classified objectives from here. People keep saying that there's also that they want new classified objectives because we're bored of the existing ones. So did CB make these ones without classifieds to maybe test the waters to see what maybe people thought about those missions, to maybe see if they
Maybe.
could change how
Yeah.
ITS is played? I agree that they are slightly simpler in that you don't need classified objectives, because classifieds can be a bit complicated because you read them and go, oh, hang on, oh wait, no, I've got to do two forward observe roles, not the hacking, and I can't use the hacking program, etc., etc., etc. So I see that point of view. I just wonder if there's something more at play here, because
Mm.
they're really not that dissimilar. It's like sometimes one or two, at most 3 points different, based on the absence of classifieds. I guess I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, more than just, is it simpler? It's simpler, yes, but is there something else going on here, or am I just like imagining it?
I don't
They,
know. They could be. To me, I think it's just simpler, but I don't know.
they have made the missions slightly similar. There's like supremacy doesn't have the dominate the same.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just talking about like little bits like that. I'm not saying that makes a significant difference. And to be honest, they've reduced complexity. Like if we talk about new players, they've reduced complexity by taking out classifieds, but just to put it back in by introducing the key ops and having the key ops, needing to do all these sorts of objectives. They've simplified cutthroat from decapitation. They took out the panoplies and just had kill people with the Keops.
So yeah, and I think
But
yeah.
I think I agree with you, Kev. It sort of seems like they've just gone and said, "Hey, if you want to introduce people to the game, play Firefight, Frontline, Supremacy, and Acquisition, and those are the best examples of getting into ITS."
Well, I mean that's what Val was saying. Like, by making it simpler, it just seems strange. It just seems strange to add them, like, because people are calling for new missions, but these aren't that
Yeah,
different.
I haven't heard too many people call for new missions personally, but
I mean,
um,
I'd love to see some more missions get cycled. Like, we've had one new mission
Mm.
added this season. If you don't include these 4 direct action missions,
yeah,
um, I personally believe that people are just kind of sick, like a little bit sick of the current suite of missions,
Yeah,
and would like to see,
Mm,
not 1 added, but maybe like 4 added, and then
yeah,
4
and cool.
retired, and like 4 just taken out of the game for a bit because
yeah, maybe.
because
Which
Uh,
do you have any idea? I don't know. I'm obviously putting on the spot. Any idea like what at least one mission you'd probably want to see like removed, replaced?
looting and sabotaging, probably.
Yeah.
Mind wipe, but that's just me personally. It's not necessarily that it's a bad mission. And then, I know, supplies and supremacy. Like, if they removed, like, I don't personally know which one I would like. And I just know looting and sabotage is one that I don't see ever getting played. So that one just needs either a rework or something.
Yeah.
But more to the point is, cryogenics is quite a different mission, and it
Mm.
actually it pulls different levers, which is what they've kind of started to do with these direct action missions. Because what they do is they take away the need for a classified, and they add this key ops who does different things in different missions. He has to kill some things. Sometimes he has to stay alive, which is basically like what Data Tracker was in previous seasons, which I think is a bit of a blunt instrument, because when you have one model that could win you or lose you up to 4 points,
yeah,
it's
it's
quite
a lot.
it's quite swingy, and it's quite
Yeah,
it can be quite feel bad, but at the same time, adding different ways to win is also really great in my book. So I feel like they're experimenting with different ways to play the game with these direct action missions, and I kind of like where it's going, so I'd like to see that implemented, rolled out more come season 15. But I mean, at the moment, I'm just speculating. Just giving you my 2 cents.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, look, who knows? They could be reworking their mission formula for all we know, but yeah,
I mean,
I guess from the outside in, yeah, it's too hard to tell for me.
Mm, mm.
I've only seen a couple of like not a lot of bad takes on or like people who are upset with cryogenics. So it's not like CB have uh it's not like the CB struggle to make new ITS missions that people like.
Well,
I mean, we've seen.
I don't think this was a CB mission, cryogenics. I'm pretty sure this was submitted by somebody, wasn't it?
Oh well, yeah. Well,
I
then I
don't
don't
know.
know how they got my face. I hope not.
I
I haven't heard that.
thought so. I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean,
Somebody
now that
can
you
maybe
say it,
correct me.
it feels
Mm, for sure.
familiar.
Um, Cryogenics.
Um,
Oh, no, okay, it doesn't say on the ITS document, because I know last year, when Panic
yeah, it said
Rooms,
like congratulations
it
to
did
somebody
say to
or something
somebody.
like that. Yeah.
So maybe not. Maybe I've just heard that from somebody, because they said it's very similar to a mission that they played before. It does. I
Mm.
think it is derived from a Dire Foes mission. I think the
Okay.
Obsidian Head, the one with
So,
Caden in it, or one of them anyway. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think it's derived from that. So maybe that's something that CB are looking at. They're looking at the Dire Foes missions because they play a bit differently, and
mm.
managing them into a ITS format. But anyway, we're not here to talk about cryogenics. We're here to talk about direct action and the slow grow that we had on the weekend, which we played all 4 of these. 4 rounds, 150 points. Val, do you want to just talk to the restrictions that we had for this first round that Peter organized, and give your, I guess, thoughts on that
Yeah,
restrictions?
so basically we could bring two lists, so pretty standard. There was no link teams above a Harris, so maximum three-man link. No impetuous, and I believe there was pretty much it, wasn't it?
It
I
was
think
just
there was. Oh
no
no, yeah,
impetuous didn't apply, right?
and no model, yeah. So and no model was allowed to have. There was no characters above 35 points, no models above 50 points, and no models with 3 wounds or more. So
No models with
basically,
more than 2 wounds, yeah.
yeah, more than 2 wounds rather.
And
Sorry.
that included
Um,
NWI.
yeah, that's right. So basically, yeah. So those were the restrictions, and yeah, I think they were pretty wise, especially the impetuous one. I think,
Yeah, so this is
yeah, I
slightly
I mean,
modified Recon Plus rules that you can get online. I think Recon Plus has the different rules for Impetuous where you can take Impetuous, but it's like one for
It's like a
every.
limit on how many you can have. Yeah.
It's like for every one Impetuous model you have to have 4 non-Impetuous models. So
Mm.
essentially, the maximum you can have in a limited insertion list is 2. Which
let's use
which
that
which
one.
works too. I quite like the way that we just didn't have Impetuous because we were playing on 24 by 32 inch tables. Getting
Yeah.
that extra order is quite strong. Even if you can't take
Imagine how
cover,
quickly a
And
bike
we
would
were
get
restricted to
across.
one combat group as well.
one
Was
combat
the other
group.
thing.
That's right. Yeah, we still. I think there was a bit of confusion on the day. We still allowed you docking 2 orders. Even though some people said that you might not be able to do that, but I think that was wise to allow docking 2 orders because
Mhm.
having 10 orders to ram into your opponent's throat on a small table could be
Yeah.
quite bad.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. So I think the format was good. As always, there's always room for abuse, but I think we tried our best to curb that with the restrictions and also with the expectations on the day because we had, I think, was it 8 pretty much brand new players in addition to other relatively new players.
Well, this is something I wanted to talk about. How many people came out of the woodwork? There's a
Mm.
lot of players who've had minis for a long time who've just come out of the woodwork. So that was really great to see. That was
Yeah,
really
because did
awesome.
you play a guy who maybe someone did who like had been playing in N2 and then dropped out of the game until now
That's
basically.
who I played on Thursday.
Oh right, that was it. That's it. Yeah, so that's really great. So
Uh,
not just new players,
Twigs,
but
I
like
think it
old players.
was.
Twigs, that's it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
um
No, it was good fun to play, and I hope you had a good day on Sunday.
so we had
Mm.
26 players in the end.
26 players. That's huge.
Yeah,
Massive.
which and
Phenomenal.
my first thought on that was 26 players and we had what 40 something players for Burn City Brawl.
Yeah,
That's
dude, like that's
with like a
massive.
with like a dozen players from interstate. So, with those numbers, if we can retain them, that's easily 60 players for like a big 2 day event that we could get from
That's
Victoria plus
yeah.
interstate. Like that would be no problem at all.
Mm.
Which
It's
is
without any
really
of the
nice.
Geelong guys as well.
Yeah, it's really encouraging. So yeah, we had a House of War, which is out east. Great venue because it's basically free. Not so great if you live in Geelong because it's like a 2 hour drive.
Like,
Yeah, fuck.
um,
Brunswick boy over here now. Don't give a
that's right.
fuck.
That's it. I've left them. That's it. They call me deadbeat dad. So fucking,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, it was great to see so many people show up, especially the people who took public transport to get there. But it was good. So I think what we want to do primarily is to sort of just briefly recap the event and then kind of go into a bit more detail on the format because I think I know the Dice Abide just did a recent thing on varying points levels. Their challenge was basically to play something other than 300 points. So I think this ties in quite well to their recent challenge with what we've just done,
Nice.
and looking at it from a veteran point of view as well as a new player point of view. So, Val, do you wanna take it away with your kind of highlights, takeaways, and lessons
Yeah.
learned from the weekend?
Yeah. We'll just go. Do you want to go round by round highlights, or what do you want to do?
I don't know. Do you wanna? I don't know if
I can just go round by round and then
yeah. I mean,
wrap up some takeaways.
I'm happy just to if you just like give me all of your because like I don't want to like spend too long on each round. More of just like a overall highlights. So like if you just want to like just unload with your day,
Sure.
and then we can sort of we can each talk about that, and then we can come back, and then talk about the format in general. If you're happy
No
doing
worries.
that, because I only played a couple of rounds because I was helping TO, so I won't
Yep,
have as much to
gotcha.
talk about.
Basically, I played 4 rounds. First round I played against Tim.
Who
Some
are you?
military orders.
Who are you? What were you playing? What did you
I
take
was
for it?
running the Imperial Service, the Mighty Imperial Service,
So,
and
first thing I want to just pull you up on this one, Val. You've had Imperial Service
Yeah.
for a long
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah, I said that.
how does this qualify for slow grow? Please explain.
it qualifies for slow grow. Ooh.
This is the try hard coming to the new player event.
That's right. I was desperate to win an event, and
It's all
I'm
coming
like,
out now.
this is the one for me. This is the one for me. I've had it in the bag, and then this some bloke off the internet comes in and steals the event from me. Can you believe it? Who the fuck is Doug? Can somebody tell me who and what fucking rock did he crawl out from?
He is
It's
a pillar of the IGL. That's who Doug is.
Yeah, well, you can fucking stay there. Anyway, I came second, listeners, in case you're not informed.
Oh.
I came second to Doug. So basically, I ran 2 lists. One was for new players, and one was for veteran players. And I used So basically that's kind of how I built my list, just to kind of, because I knew it was obviously you're a variety of players, so I didn't want to take any. I wanted to have one list where I could give somebody a good game if they're quite a veteran player, and then one list to kind of have some fun if I think they're a new player. Anyway, so basically, my first game was against military orders, and this is the game I drew. My opponent basically had a Harris of Teutons, and he just ran downfield, ran through all my Quangshi, dodged my chain rifles, soaked my either dodged or soaked my chain rifles, and killed me to a man, but forgot to step in the zones, and we drew the game.
Oh. What was it?
That was-
Battlegrounds was round one.
Yeah, the first one was the frontline version,
Frontline, yeah.
Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was actually pretty epic. The highlight there is my ninja and 3 orders shooting somebody in the back with a bow without them being able to do anything because I missed my first 2 shots.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I've got a similar story.
It's hilarious. I'm just like, pew, silent.
And the guy's like, "What was that?
Pew, silent.
What was
Yeah,
that?
it's just
Oh,
like,
nothing."
what the fuck is that? So yeah, that was a bit of a highlight. That was pretty funny. Aside from that, I got slaughtered to a man. It was a really brutal game. It was really cool. To be fair, I deployed. So many of my guys were dug in that he had to go pretty deep into my deployment zone, and then he didn't have enough orders to come out of the deployment zone on turn 3 and score an objective. And because we killed each other's what's his name?
Keops.
Keop. Yeah, so we both got like 2 points each. Something like that. So that's it. That was against Tim, by the way. That was a really good game.
Tim eventually
took a great day to start.
Took out best painted as well on the day, I believe, with his Teuton. Was it Teuton? I think he painted.
Yeah, it was Teuton. Yeah, Teuton Ignite.
Yeah, really great job, and that's the first time I think I've met Tim. So he was a really nice guy.
He's great. He's also one of those players who's had models since like N2. It's ridiculous. How many players come out of the woodwork it's insane.
Awesome. So how was what was round 2?
Round 2, I played Jonathan. I think was it Jonathan or I mixed up his name like 3 times now. But he came from all the way from Wodonga. I think he was in town. He's one of Pete and Luke's friends.
Josh Price. He's from Joshua. He's from Albury, so even further away. Well, sorry, no, Wodonga is actually slightly further away.
So around there, yeah. So so I played him. He had I think assassins. I used my second list, and my second list, the only thing I just want to highlight is my second list had this cute combo where I'm like, I want to do this to somebody, and I want to get their reaction. So I ran Taewoo, who was impersonating as a Quangshi controller, and I ran Sforza as 3 Quangshi.
Oh, I heard you were going to do this.
That's mind games and a half.
I did hear this was going to happen, yeah.
Exactly, right? And then he came through with the Dale Army, coming through my lines, throwing smoke, and I pop out Taewoo, and I'm like, haha, like I have that's not a Guangxi controller, and that means the Guangxi are oh, what does that mean about the Guangxi? And he's like, okay, anyway, I'll chain rifle. I'm like, like no reaction, like I didn't get anything from him, like I was the only payoff I wanted is for somebody to be like, ah, that's a cool trick. No,
And
I
he
didn't even
didn't
get
even know
that.
it. Didn't
Just at
even
least
notice.
someone to go, huh?
I wanted some
Didn't even get
acknowledgement,
that.
right? Yeah, but he didn't
Didn't
even
even
miss a
get
beat. He's
that.
like, yeah, no, he's like, all right, cool, I'll chain rifle. I'm like, motherfucker. But yeah,
Just didn't
that was a cool
care.
game actually. That was the acquisition version. What is it? Sorry, that was the uplink.
Uplink Center.
Um,
Yeah, we didn't play them in order how they are in the book, which confused the crap out of me. But I think it was probably deliberate, so we didn't have mission things at the end or something. I can't remember.
that's probably for the table setup as well. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I played uplink. I played yeah, and that was really cool. There was yeah, I basically won that game with the last three orders of the game in the sense that he pushed the buttons. I had no specialist in that list, or I had one specialist. He killed it pretty early on, and then I had to uh, I won the war of attrition, and then my last three orders was touching each button, like getting somebody to get into base contact with each single console with the last three orders. So it was pretty epic. It was a bit of a nail biter. It was really good game.
Excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Um,
And then round three, I faced off against Tristan.
sorry,
Got your orders
I'm just going
again.
to
Okay, go for it.
I'm just no, not you're right. No, I'm just putting up a picture of the best painted, seeing as like we're doing this
Ooh.
obviously for a video as well, so we want to make sure that people can see all the
Sure.
what we're doing. But yeah, this was. You can keep talking. I'm just gonna cycle through
Okay,
some
sure.
photos as you're talking.
No worries. So yeah, round three was military orders against Tristan. That was it was a pretty cool game. My ninja came in clutch. Effectively, I went through to his back line and assassinated
Whoa. Oops.
his link
Sorry.
team.
Oopsie. Sorry. Just pressed a
Sure.
button and I can't get out of it now. Ah! Oh. Sorry. Sorry. I just pushed the wrong button.
Are we still recording or what?
Yeah, no, we're still recording. I was just still recording. I just put. I just did something silly. There we go. Sorry. Right. We're all good. We're all good. You can carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically the ninja assassinated his link team, and then I did the smoke trick with my Dava. So I had a Dava
Oh, look at
MSV2
you,
Spitfire, and
smoke
I just
tricking.
smoke tricked. I just smoke tricked. So my like more competitive list was basically comprised of four Guangxi, Dava Harris with the Dava Spitfire MSV2 with like its own smoke from the
Mhm.
Guangxi controller,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and a ninja.
It's a
And
good piece.
basically I thought that was a good enough balance to the list, to the format. And yeah, basically I assassinated his link team, which was providing his aero presence, and then slowly. Oh, and I had two Wu Ming as well in that list.
Oh, Chu Ming.
Um,
So was that
a
your
machine
veterans
gun.
list or your
That's my veterans list. Yeah, so two Wu Ming chain
right?
rifle submachine guns, the Harris with my Lieutenant Celestial Guard, Guangxi controller, and Dava, and then full Guangxi,
Mm.
the ninja.
Yeah, not a bad
So
list. Pretty good.
yeah, it's really strong actually, to be honest. And that's the thing because we'll get into what the format kind of does for the game in terms of like what it does for the weapon loadouts.
Mhm.
But yeah, so just on that game, after I took out his link team, he didn't have much of an aero presence, and then he was kind of forced to run into my Guangxi a little bit, and then my Dava just smoke shot anything he left standing. So yeah, so I got up there as well, and going to the last round, I got to face off against Luke and his Shazvasti.
So this is cutthroat. Um,
Yeah, that's
Final
right.
round.
Cutthroat, final round. And I always play Luke in tournaments, so it's always really good fun.
It's good.
And
I'm interested to see to hear what he brought because Shaz Vasti are I find quite difficult to run maybe at low points levels because they're quite expensive.
Yeah.
For a
yeah,
lot of 1-1 models.
I can tell you his list off the top of my head, to be honest. Um, he had Korax, a Nox Troop Paramedic, a Nox Troop Lieutenant, all in a link.
Mhm.
Two Tigers, two Echidrons, an R drone, and a Caliban engineer.
Ah, did he have? He didn't have a Noctifer
Okay.
in that list? No.
No Noctifier.
Mm.
So that was his list. Basically, I put my Wu Ming in suppression fire. I went second. So I put my Women Suppression Fire with my command token, and that actually paid off some dividends because um, it forced them to engage him with Korax, but I also double stacked him with like a Celestial Guard, so he basically, so no, with Quang Shi, not Celestial Guard,
The Kwang Shi.
and I
Okay, yeah.
templated Korax, and killed him with my because the Quang Shi was in a link, so I had two templates. So that was a really good start for me in ARO, and then after that it was just a battle of attrition where we both ended with like under 50 points remaining for that game.
Oh yeah, it's quite
So
yeah.
it was a very killy game. Yeah, it was really close. He kind of got in Korax and like in ARO,
What was that? Sorry, you
but
broke up
then
there.
he fought back pretty well, to be honest, and it was a much closer game than he thought.
What did you say? He.
Yeah.
What did
He
you say?
fought back quite
Okay.
Yeah, he fought back quite well
Hmm.
after being because he was a bit demoralized losing Korak, like his main gunfighter in like his second order or third order.
Yeah, and in many
Um,
ways, he's like your only gunfighter that you can probably fit into like a Shaz list. You
yeah,
know.
because the Caliban only has a submachine gun, right?
That's right, yeah. And
So
if you want to have a better Caliban, you're paying 38 points for it. And then after that,
yeah,
you're looking at Ducash, who's 38 as well, and then
mm.
Sheskin, who's
Yeah,
kind of out of,
I've been looking at Shazvasti a little bit recently as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I got some hot takes.
hot,
But
hot, hot,
anyway,
hot.
hot takes. But yeah, anyway, so at the end of that game, I ended up winning there as well. So I went one draw, three wins,
Yeah.
and came
So,
second to
so I've got
Doug.
the yeah, I've got the thing up here. So
Right.
you were second on 17 TP, 22
Mhm.
OP, and 214 VP, which is quite amazing when you look at Doug, who was on 20 TP,
Ah,
33 OP,
okay. Let's not
33
fucking rub it in
OP,
here, man.
and then I mean pretty much double your VP. So, mate,
Fucking
sounds
hell.
like you need to stay alive a bit longer. I reckon.
Mate, all my games in every event are always
You have like the
fucking
lowest
razor
TP
sharp.
of anybody. Can you count? Are you alright? Like what's going on here? I mean, I came 23rd and I have more VP than you. But anyway, no, you.
Uh,
So I'm just throwing shade. I'm just
no,
throwing shade.
go for it. Do
Good,
it. Do
good,
it.
good.
Nah, look. I get shit done. Right. In that game, my ninja assassinated his lieutenant, which was really cool. So it was very ninja-esque.
Cool, cool. Oh well, that's good. I mean,
Well done.
I only played 3 out of the 4 games because I actually was hoping not to play at all because I have nothing. I had nothing ready for the slow grow. All my Star Mata stuff is still in boxes because I was obviously moving house. So I did say to Peter, I was like, look, if we have an odd number, or sorry, if we have odd numbers, I'm happy to drop. So we can continue even numbers, and it means I can TO. And it looked like I wouldn't need to play, and then 3 people just like oh no, sorry. First of all, Josh was who was there. Just forgot to sign up, so that put us on from odd back to even. I was like, "Fuck you, Josh." Um,
Oh no.
and then a couple of people who were a little bit late in getting to the venue because it was a Sunday morning and they'd been out the night before, rocked up
Hmm?
then as well, and that put us back in. But it was 2 people, so it kept us on the even. So I was like, "Damn it, I'm gonna have to play." So I was running Starco for this event because it's all I had that was available, and I was kind of keen to try them out because there's definitely a few profiles in there that I quite enjoy running, but never really get a chance to play them in 300 points. So I basically built a list around Raoul in a Harris with Uhahu and a Digger. So the because
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Nice.
Uhahu can be is the glue for a link because she can be a link member as a Harris. So it's yeah. So those 3. I took the super jump Raoul as well because I wanted to see if I could get some use out of super jump. Spoiler alert, I didn't. It was based around that Harris, some war bands, a Lunacod with the crazy koalas, so those nomad remotes that can lay out crazy koalas and have heavy shotguns, and a hard case was basically the list essentially. And yeah, I was really keen to try it out. So first round was against Josh, who's fellow player, and well, player, sorry, like he's I guess we can consider him a veteran now. He's been playing for a year. And he was running.
Yeah, he's played. Yeah, he's been really focusing on the game as well. He's really
Yeah,
been learning.
he's very good. So I mean,
Good.
I had planned to just fuck around, but we were playing each other. He went first. He played Aleph. He took Andromeda like a like a dick.
Funny.
But I had a suspicion that he might have Andromeda because he did mention in the group chat that he'd been sent Andromeda from CB, but it came with 2 of the same side for the dog, and I was like, I think that means that you're taking Andromeda. So
Yeah, it does.
he held back Andromeda, I held back a Lunacod, he put down Andromeda, I put down the Lunacod, and he was like, ah shit, what do I
It's
do?
good reserve. It's great
Mm.
reserve drop.
So that sort of stopped him from taking me out on turn 1, but what he did instead though is he put her into suppressive fire, and then I just couldn't dislodge her. I ran a Jaguar at her. I even took the 11-point Jaguar with the light shotgun, and she failed one save, passed the other. Then I think I ran something else at it, and she passed the armor save. In the end, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna take Raoul because like Raoul is Mimetism is a -6, good range, you know. But of course, I'm 4 dice on 6s, and Andromeda's 3 dice on 4s, I think, because she's BS 12 -6
Neg
from
9, wouldn't it?
neg.
Oh, no.
Yeah, within 16, so it was neg 9. So yeah, on 4s, and he crits me. So or 3s. Maybe it was 3s he needed. Anyway, I get crit, shock ammunition, Raoul's dead. That's it. And essentially, this is where 150 points becomes real bad, because then in his next turn, he just goes, Andromeda just goes in like, decharge this thing, decharge this thing, decharge this thing, decharge this thing, game over. And that was that. So I was like, sweet, that game was done quick. And that was that. But it was good though, because then I got to play two relatively new players. The second game was against Chris. He was running OSS, and that was a really fun game. I think I went first in that one. We were playing Uplink Center, I think it was. Yes. And,
yeah, that's right.
And I did this thing I liked, I've been doing, where I throw some smoke out with the Jaguar, run the Lunacod up to the midfield, throw it a Crazy Koala, then leave the smoke with the Lunacod and go, what you gonna do? And took it.
You got the shotgun, don't you?
Yes, it's got the heavy shotgun. So basically, a heavy shotgun.
Yeah.
And if you
they dodge, you just shoot. Yeah.
Dodge and you just shoot. And if you don't dodge, you're getting hit by one of your models is getting hit by a Crazy Koala. So that was interesting. But again, sort of similar to what I said earlier, because he's quite a new player. He was like, so I die either way. I'm like, I mean, you could dodge, and if you dodge and you successfully, pass everything, then that's your best option. But he played really well. He had a Rudras in a Harris with a Dakini, and was able to I wouldn't say I'm not going to say I guided him through the game, because that would be disingenuous to him. He was making his own decisions. I was just giving him as much information as I could.
Yeah.
So he made the best decision. So he kind of understood. And it all came down to, essentially, I had pushed one button. Oh, that was it. He'd only taken one specialist in this list, and I killed it on the first turn. So I'd pushed one, and I was like basically saying to him, I was like, I'm going to kill that one specialist, so you can't push any buttons. And he was like, good lesson. But he was able to put his Rudras and his Dakini both into suppressive fire on his last turn, which put me in a position where if I needed to go and dominate and control the consoles, I would need to get through the Rudras and the Dakini both in suppressive fire. And when you've only got 10 orders and you've lost like half of them in the first 2 turns, having 5 orders to get up there and then survive was a bridge too far. So it ended up in a draw, which is really cool. It was a really close game, because he thought he'd lost it in the first round because he'd like seen his guys die, and then he was able to turn it around, and then it was all doused down to this last ditch run to the middle, which was a really cinematic moment. At the end of the game, we had a nice chat about just some like things to go over. There was a moment at the start of the game where I had a hard case that I had deployed as a reserve model, and I'd put it on my flank, and he had his Harris, which was a Rudras, CSU, and a Dakini, all in your typical I'm standing behind a wall in a conga line. And if I wanted to, I could have walked the hard case up to the deployment zone, turned around the corner, and laid down 2 light shotgun templates on that entire link team. But I decided not to do that, because that would just suck. To be fair, my hard case would probably die. He might lose the CSU and the Dakini. Most likely the Rudras would survive, because it's got 2 wounds and armor 4. But when you only have 7, I think he only had 7 orders to begin with, if I then kill 2, 3, 4 models, then he has 3 orders to spend on one model, which is just not enough to do anything with. So I decided not to do that. But at the end of the game, we had a quick chat, and I was like, just FYI, if you're going second, first of all, don't deploy your models at the edge of the deployment zone, and don't deploy them in a conga line. Or if or if you do, make sure they're right at the back of your DZ where no one can get to them, and you've got other ablative pieces to stand in the way. And he was like, so we had a good chat about it, and that was a fun game. And then round 3, I was playing another new player, Dean. He was running Corregidor, and he was great. He's picking up the game really well, so that was a fantastic game. He beat me in the end after Raul went on a bit of a killing spree. I was finally able to do something I've never been able to do properly, which was make effective use of white noise. Actually, I think I might have mentioned this in the last episode. Yes, I did. But I made more use of white noise, where I put white noise up in front of his Wildcat with HRL, who was in a 3-man link. And then I walked Raul out into view of the Wildcat. So the Wildcat's got MSV1, so it's obviously blocked by the white noise. But because Raul has mimetism -6, and I was standing inside 16 inches, then he's at -12 to hit me, because he's -6 for white noise, -3 for mimetism, and then -3 for cover. So he's basically 2 dice on 1s, which he was like, I'll roll the dice for that anyway. Why not? He might roll a 1. If he rolls a 1, then Raul's dead. He didn't roll a 1, and his Wildcat died. But it was a really cool game. There was some what was the takeaways from that one? Where this was where I had the tack bow issue. So so he had deployed a Moran. And in hindsight, I did tell him after the game, it's probably better if you, because you're going second, make the Moran your reserve drop, just because you can kind of board control with it more. In the end, he made it his key ops, which is fair enough as well, because he wanted to make sure his key ops was protected.
Scores or something? Or...
Yeah, well, just so that he could put it in a position that was most efficient, because we were playing round 3 was superiority. But my hard case was able to, because it's a camo marker, it could walk right past the crazy koala with it setting it off. Walked into the Moran's back, and then revealed and started shooting his tack bow at it. 5 orders later, the Moran is still alive, but has no idea what's going on, because
just the rained arrows. Like,
in a normal game, I would have been like, oh, I know, light shotgun. I'll just put 2 templates on you because you're you're at minus for surprise and whatnot. I'll just do it. But I was like, no, we'll try the tack bow, because if I fail, like you said, he can't do anything. He doesn't get to turn around. But I ended up sinking 6 orders into it. I think it was 5.
You committed to the bit.
I committed to the bit, and because when you've only got 8 orders to begin with, that was my entire fucking first turn.
It's so funny.
In the end, I was like 4 orders. I'd missed with 4 orders. On the 5th order, I hit, and I was like, yes, double action, damage 13, take that, and he passes both armor saves.
You son of a bitch.
I'm like, you son of a bitch. So then he turns around to look at me, and this is the Moran with boarding shotgun. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll just do what I should have done initially, which was walk into zone of control of the crazy koala and just put 2 templates on him, and we both died. So that was that. But basically that was that game. He beat me in that one too. He had I can't remember how it went. I think he had pushed more buttons than me, but I had dominated more quadrants. I think it was like a 6-5 or something like that. Anyway, and then 4th round, we had a couple, we had 3 people drop. So we were, I didn't need to play, but it was great. It was really fun day. Got to walk around on round 4 and help people out with rules, and actually one of the most interesting rules that these 2 people were getting wrong, I forget who it was now, was that you can't split burst an arrow, because they were having a really tense engagement where the one guy was doing coordinated orders with 2 models to move them up different flanks of the board in order to basically surround this Knight of Justice, I think it was. And the guy who was the Knight of Justice was like, "Oh, I'll put one Spitfire round in this guy, one Spitfire round in that guy." I was like, "Oh no, you actually can't do that. You have to pick a target." And he was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And the other guy was like,
Okay.
"Really?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that's so cool." Because then he has to choose like which is going to be the most dangerous thing to shoot. So that was cool to find that. But yeah, the whole day was really
Yeah.
fun.
Most-
I got my butt kicked. I think I ended up 23rd out of 26, but that wasn't the intention of the day. The intention of the day
It's
was
not the
to
point of the day, right?
hopefully teach some new players and make sure that they had a good time.
Yeah. Unless you were me, of course, and that
Unless
point was very
unless
much
well, I mean, like
fucking
unless
win.
I was you, or to be honest, a lot of the veteran players at the on Sunday looked like they were trying hard to
Absolutely, yeah, no, it's true. Like it was always gonna happen. Like, and that's why I'm very glad Pete went with Swiss pairings because at the end of the day, like, yes, there's lots of new players, but that doesn't mean the veteran players are gonna behave. Like,
I
it's
know,
simply
but
that's the
yeah,
reality.
I know. I think you're right
They'd play
though.
down. Would play down if they played a new player for sure. But if they're up against another veteran, they wanted to have the best game they possibly could.
Well, there was one
So
game. And not to name any names, but there was one game where there was where it was over in 10 minutes. Well, not
Hugh's a
10,
prick.
not
I don't think it
not
was that.
no. It wasn't. I don't think it was 10 minutes, but it was pretty quick. It was basically first turn alpha. I kill half your list, and then you take the foot off the accelerator, but they can't do anything anyway, so they've kind of lost by that point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's look, each to their own in how they interact
Oh no, I'm
with
not
other
saying it's a
people.
bad thing necessarily. I think people can obviously but I think you just need to be aware that this is for new players. So we want to make sure that
Exactly.
new players feel like they've come to this event and they've kind of walked away and gone, all right,
Learn something.
either I got my butt kicked but I had a really good time and I learned stuff, or I did all right. You want them to come back. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
You,
No.
you don't want their first, potentially tournament interaction to be, wow, everyone's a jerk.
Yeah,
Well,
and
yeah,
I
everyone's
think different people
out
take it
for
in
blood.
different ways. Like some people
Mm.
understand that they will lose and take it well, and other people maybe think that they should. There's different people. So I think it's just being able to gauge that is very important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big thing.
So
So, but look, I think overall, I think hopefully everyone had a good time. I think hopefully people who haven't been playing for a while just enjoyed getting the rolling D20s again, pushing around the sci-fi minis. I really hope. Yeah, that's my main hope.
I think Peter did a feedback form at the end of it, so he'll have some data on how much fun people had. But I think
Hopefully.
we went to the cafe at lunchtime and everyone was chatting and
That was great.
seemed to be
Yeah, that
having a
was
good
really
time.
cool.
Nobody had their head in their hands going, "Oh, I just don't understand this
Mm.
game. It's too hard and I'm getting my butt
Oh,
kicked."
the only yeah the cafe was great. The was yeah no I was actually I was just remembering where Hector tried to help the waiter and he dropped the food. I felt
Oh
so bad for
yeah, I
everyone
saw that.
involved.
I saw
I was like,
that.
oh no, it was like the best intentions but the worst execution.
Worst
Oh,
execution. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh
with
well, at
with
least
that out of the way, actually, before we jump to the next segment of the event, you weren't at the event, Jacob, but you have played a couple of 150 point games. Did you? I mean, I know you kind of talked about them at the start, but is there anything you want to add to what we just
Mhm.
said about? Do you have any fun
I
experiences
mean,
playing
look,
150?
I'm trying to think about the 150 game that I did play. Also, I don't think that particular game like it was a good game, and I really enjoyed playing it, but I don't think there was any particular highlights um, from it.
Okay. Well,
Um,
okay. Well, in that case, we'll
yeah,
just move on to
let's
to, to,
just
to the
move on.
point of playing 150 or playing smaller point games.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
what are our, I guess, overall thoughts on the event, the format? You were talking before, Val, about things you do differently,
Yeah, so
and
I want to ask
stuff.
you guys. Well, I want to ask you this, I guess, because Jacob wasn't there. But if you were to do your list again, what would you do differently now that you played on that smaller table and that small format? If anything.
Well, I think I kind of not an awful lot. I think the thing I thought about at the start of the cast were running complicated profiles is probably not something I would necessarily do again against newer players. When you've got a model who's Mimetism -6 is really good in CC, has drop bears, has a gun with multiple ammo modes, right? It becomes a lot for a new player to remember. Similarly with a Lunacod, that's a remote that can actually do multiple things. That's quite a lot to remember as well.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably potentially make it even simpler if I'm playing a newer player, and potentially even just forgo hacking, especially things with repeaters and pitchers, because I found them incredibly strong in a small table.
Yeah.
You put one model, you put Uhahu, who's got pitchers, and Harris, who goes one pitcher on that flank, one pitcher on that
One
flank.
pitch on that flank,
Anywhere
and
you
you've
go
got
now,
total
I will
control.
spotlight you. And if you got heavy
So
infantry,
good.
because like the OSS player Chris I played, almost everything in his army was a remote,
Yeah, Rem.
and he was like,
It's a
oh,
good lesson for him. That's a good inadvertent lesson for him.
it's a good.
There you go.
It definitely is a good lesson, but on a normal 4x4, there's
Yeah.
ways around those repeaters. Whereas in those
Exactly.
games, there's just nowhere you can go.
Yeah,
So I think
16 inches covers more than half the table.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there is room there for a bit of learnings on those smaller games. I mean, if you and I are throwing down Val, then like no holds barred, right? I'm
Right.
taking all
Bring
those
it on.
profiles.
Exactly right. Bring
But
it on.
against new players,
Yeah.
I think I probably had the wrong list. To me, it felt like a weaker list until I started playing it and going, oh, actually, these have got some really good tricks that I didn't think about
Yeah,
when I built it.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like you were
yeah.
forking arrows and everything.
Yeah, doing forked arrows and stuff like that, which is fun, but not if you don't know what a forked arrow is.
Exactly. Yeah. For a new player, it's like,
For a
this
new
doesn't
player,
feel
it's a bit much.
Mm.
And I guess I would have done that differently. We can talk about the code one thing as well afterwards, but that's my thoughts. What about you, Val?
To be honest, I would have played Morats. I would have ran to Kaitox
Yep.
with Rindak in a link, so I'd have
Oh boy,
10
yeah.
rifles for days,
Mhm.
and then I'd have just the rest Predators with an Osnat just to give me all the orders in the world. I would have broken the game. But no, basically what I'm trying to get at is the fact that templates were king in that format.
Right. Yep.
Templates were so brutal. And I caught on to that pretty quick with my Guangxi inclusion. Like I had 4 Guangxi. But yeah, on the day it was even more apparent. You just need like one gunfighter to. Did I lose everyone?
No, you're still here.
No, still there.
Sorry, no, your camera just. Yeah, you needed one gunfighter to kind of like be able to clear the way a little bit. Smoke as well. I had both of those things.
Smoke is really important. Yeah.
Yeah, so smoke to kind of get up the board, and then templates, and then just trade and just be able to trade because they just can't get away from you like that.
Yeah, again, like the chain rifle, if you count the move, that's 14 inches worth of
Exactly,
threat
14
range
inches
that
threat.
you've got. Again,
32 inches.
going widthways, more than half the table. Going
Exactly.
lengthways, still, I think, more than a third of the table.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I found that too. Chain rifles are just freaking devastating. You can just cover entire deployment zones with them.
Mm-hmm.
You need Bashi or something to like dodge everything on 16 or something. That's the only way around.
And yeah, you do have you do. I think in such low points, you do have sort of a shift in which profiles become king.
Yes.
Because suddenly sniper rifles and
HMGs
heavy
are not
machine
useful.
guns are less useful than like a Spitfire or a marksman rifle.
Yeah, absolutely. It flips the CB's profile formula on its head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the longest range gun I had in my list was multi-rifle. That's all I had. That's
There you go.
yeah.
And there's no reason to push it past that.
Yeah, you were always within good. You were almost always within good range, unless you. Actually, no. Sorry, I guess a flash pulse was longer range than that, but that was fine. Yeah, that does seem to really change it.
I wanted to avoid when I was playing CHA just taking like the T2 monomer or the T2 so T2 rifle monomer or the T2 rifle Highlander Grey.
Yeah.
Like they're just so strong on such a short table. Especially because like with the monomer you've got armor 5. Like there's not a lot of things you'll have that'll crack through his armor.
Yeah, especially when if you're not taking the AP HMGs and maybe you don't have points or SWC for the AP Spitfire, then you're
Exactly.
left with SMGs, maybe a multi-rifle or an AP rifle, but again, those aren't those
Tough.
those might be harder to find, or you find them on profiles you don't normally take, which is refreshing because you are then seeing profiles on the table that you might not see, and then you're seeing profiles do work that you're like, whoa, that
Yeah.
Takini with a combi rifle
Deva.
just fucking, or Deva just ran through me.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I
Deva
guess
was
it does.
immense.
Yeah.
Deva was immense.
So
Yeah,
that was
like anything with mimetism and or like a mimetism forward deployment and a SMG, it's just god tier.
yeah.
But yeah, it was just interesting seeing how like it kind of reversed the game. Like some of the things you thought like, for example, like the most obvious moment was in game 4 with Luke. It was like his best attack piece against me was actually his Icodrons rather than his Korax in turn 1. Because the Icodrons could run through my lines and traded with Quan Chi maybe 2 at a time because they have dual flamers, right?
Mm.
He could really like burst through. But it was like a very unintuitive thing to see because it's like, hold on, Icodrons intuitively are my auto batteries, my attack pieces are my Caliban, my Korax, whatever, right? It was just interesting how like the the valuable troops, like what troop was valuable, kind of reversed, and that was all dictated by the board size and density. That's all that dictated that, which is really interesting if you apply it
I
to
I think there
the
is
100-point
one
game.
thing to say about the point limit that we've got on, or like the 150 point limit is you also, with such low points as well as the restrictions, you also lose a ton of resistance that you might otherwise have. So
Yes.
everything
Yeah,
is
Or
relatively low armor. Maybe you got 2 wounds on something that's a cheap 2 wound model, but you're probably maybe maxing out on 4 armor.
you also don't have the orders either, which is a big thing, right? Because now
yeah, yeah.
you've got 10 orders, 8 if you go, and some people didn't even start with 10, they had 9 or
Yeah,
8.
some of them did.
So
Yeah,
you're going 8 or less on turn 1, which it doesn't give you the ability to. So like in 300 points, for example, you might have 5 or 6 orders in group 2 that you can just yeet a warband down a flank, throw a couple of chain rifles on something. If it dies, it dies. You've still got a full order group of 10 to deal with arrows or do whatever you need to do. When in 150, you've got 8 orders. You send a Jaguar down or a warband down to do its job. It dies, it kills one thing, and you've kind of only got 4 or 5 orders left, which is not enough to actually
yeah,
persecute any more attacks. So you end up kind of taking the game in way more defined chunks. Like even in my games, Raoul basically didn't move until turn 3 sometimes because I would have I would have enough orders to get there and do some damage, but not enough orders to safely pull back often. So I'd be sending an Armandino in there, or a hard case in there, or the Jaguar in there to do the work because I wasn't expecting it to come back, and that's where you just don't have those orders. And you would have those orders in a 300-point game, but you don't have them in a 150.
Yeah.
So
yeah, fair enough.
yeah, even
Yeah,
with the
no,
smaller table.
but it was interesting because because if that's the case, if you can apply it to like 300-point games, if you can identify parts of the table where they're dense or you think some profiles would really excel, I think that's something you can carry over from this event to your larger games. So if something did really well in those tight spaces, you're like, oh, you know what? I play that profile in the 300-point game. I want to look for the part of the table where can replicate those sort of conditions for that, I guess, profile to thrive.
Yeah, no, I
That's what I
definitely
kind
see
of got out of
myself taking Raoul in more games, just
it.
because he has that toolbox to shine. It's just, yeah, it's just often in a bigger point game he's overshadowed by more straightforward pieces, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly
Um,
right. And yeah, having the threat, having people get him out, it's harder to get him into his good range, right? That's 16 inches.
that's
And
right.
I think another thing that this really helps, especially for the new players, and you saw it too, Kev, that it really helps them, helps people to learn is what bad deployment looks like. You obviously had
Yes.
your little conga line that while you chose not to punish, you saw
Yeah, because
the
I was
fact
like,
that
this,
if
this
I
is gonna
want,
suck.
yeah, if I could just go up to this and just like smack him up one, and then it'd be great. It would be great as far as playing, like winning the tournament goes. Would suck for somebody who's probably only had a couple
I
of
mean,
games.
he might learn it, but I'm of the opinion
Yeah.
that I don't want to learn by, I I don't. What's that
Yeah.
phrase I'm thinking of? Like, learn
You
from
don't want to do it through like negative reinforcement.
I don't like an experience. Like, everyone experiences that eventually. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be the guy to show him it. In a
Yeah,
slow roll
exactly right.
format on round 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
you
just
don't want
didn't
to sit
seem
down for
right.
the next
And
hour.
like, and not to say that's what 100% would have happened, but it was definitely, I
Mm.
definitely saw it going, oh, there's an opening, but I was like, I'm not going to
Yeah,
take it.
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I got both kind of lucky, and I suppose lucky because mine was a teaching game where I decided, okay, this guy's deployed better than what you mentioned, wasn't a conga line, but not great. I'm going to like run up and punish the bad deployment, and then do nothing. Luckily, he rolled really well in his armor save, so I didn't punish him nearly as bad. And then at that point, the Highlander, I just stopped.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I do think that 150, like coming from a person who's played, people who have played for a while, it's a good teaching tool. And maybe if you want to have a different sort of game as someone who's played a while, um, then it's good for that. But I don't think it's great for like figuring out profiles or trying to transition to a new army.
yeah.
I think vet players can. I think that the one that's coming up, the 225, is where sort of like if you're a veteran player, you want to do like a quick test to try and get into a new army. I think that's the point limit to go because you can fit in some of those more elite pieces, see how they go. You get the larger table, so the range bands you can deal with like HMGs and sniper rifles and things like
Because at
that. Um,
250, I think is what, 32 by 48.
I
225,
mean
I think, but yeah,
225. Yeah.
Well, whatever it is, but
Um,
like
yeah,
250, I think the rules say
yeah, yeah.
32 by 48.
yeah.
So that's what
It's a
that's what
slightly
round 2 will
still
be
a
using.
slightly
I
yeah.
think that's what round 2 will be using the
Um,
sizes.
I probably
but yeah,
disagree a little bit. I think I'd play 150 again, like on a Thursday night or something. Like a couple of games with like, because I think with two veteran players, you can really push the limits of the format to really, I think, find some interesting stuff.
I think it's
like I
definitely
said,
fun. It's
it's worth it
fun,
for
but it's not. It's
for
far from
an
competitive.
experience.
I think it's far
Yeah,
from
I think it's far from
unless
competitive.
you have restrictions. It's far from competitive. It just becomes
Oh,
a
actually,
bit of
yeah,
like,
that, yeah.
what was
But
you gonna say?
it'd be interesting to play like a pauper sort of game where maybe you and a friend put even harsher limits on each other and see what you
I'd
can
go
get out of
without
an
the limits.
army doing that.
I was gonna say, I'm like, do you guys think it's viable without restrictions? That's kind of what I was
Well,
leading into
that's where we're
next, I
gonna get
guess.
to. I want to talk about some of these closing thoughts and just and talk about what
Hmm.
we think of. Sorry, I'll just bring it up on the screen. Where is it
While you're
gone?
bringing it up,
Yeah.
Kev, I just mentioned that um,
Ah.
I think a lot of the restrictions, like for I suppose for a veteran player, I think a lot of those restrictions aren't needed. I think they'd come naturally at 150. I think the reason that those restrictions are good when you're doing a slow grow and the idea is to bring in new players is to stop them from falling in like a six order pool trap where they make a list that just can't work, and it's even for a veteran player you're like, I can't figure out how to give you a good experience without just making really dumb decisions.
Mm. Okay. So
So
yeah.
I think the restrictions are good for like having a novice friendly event, but I think those restrictions would come naturally to, I suppose, us three, where we would look at it and say, well, I'm not
Mm.
going to take a 60-point model because
No,
like
but
in
no.
this army because I get nothing in it.
The restrictions aren't for that. The restrictions. Well, I mean, the restrictions are for some 50. Yeah. There's. I don't think that the problem is, right, if you remove restrictions and people just go for jank, they go for like it's like 300 points multiplied. So like they look for everything that's got aux bots or peripherals or
Yeah.
multi-wound models with they get them for cheap, like diggers, for example. And it becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy because you just end
Yeah,
up
like
having
the
this kind of like building
Be
up of
interesting.
it, of like on top of each other, like
but
everyone's running
that's
and everyone's running Andromeda, right? Because and she's already good, but in a smaller table she's even better. So I think
Yeah,
there
yeah. But
becomes
then
but that's
people will
what
have to
that's
find
what I'm,
answers for that because that's coming, right?
yeah.
You know what's
yeah,
really overpowered in this format, and it'd be
But
really interesting to explore that
that's what
space.
I'm saying is like it's like if you're doing a tournament that's designed for people who have been playing for years, then yeah, everyone's gonna go for jank. What I'm saying
yeah,
is like if you're doing a veteran, like a
yeah.
more
No,
experienced player's game,
sure,
sure,
but
everyone's
it's
gonna go for jank.
but let's just put that. Let's just say though, it's not a
Mm.
competitive environment. It's a bit of fun for veterans to fuck around with. It's by
Yes, it
Oh
is
yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure,
it's no
for sure.
that's the point I'm getting at. You go to a 300-point event, you kind of you have this mindset where it's fairly balanced. 150 points is not balanced.
It's not
That's just a fact. But
Right. Okay.
it's
Yeah, I get
whether
what you're saying.
it's
Yeah.
whether you go into that event knowing that or not is whether or not you have a good time. So I think during the event
Yeah.
Nick was like, I really want to run a 150-point event with and run it without any restrictions, just so people can be a bit silly. And I would like that, but I think it's just one of
That'd
those
be a lot of fun.
it's just one of those fun events. Whereas if people are training for CanCon, then they're not going to give a shit about 150-point event necessarily, because 300 points is still where the game seems most balanced. Now,
Yeah.
before we go, I do want to get through some of these closing thoughts about the format. We've got a few notes that we want to make sure everyone gets in on this because I think it is important. Because one of the things that we've heard is like, why don't you just run a Code One event? And we didn't for a reason, so we want to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about is no list restrictions viable at 150 points? Like you say, it depends on who's taking part. We'll find out if 225 needs restrictions or not. Hopefully it doesn't. But what I guess we'll start with you, Jacob, because you're at the top right of my screen. What are your sort of thoughts on? Well, let's just go through the list here. Recon Plus versus Code One.
Yeah. So, um, I think
Because
Recon. I think
you've played a Code One event before, right?
yeah. I've played Code One before. I think Code One's good for somebody who really has very little idea of potentially tabletop wargaming in general. It takes away some of the complications of Infinity, that might just serve to confuse somebody, trying to get into N4, but it gives them a chance to play the game for the most part as it will be for for like their
Yeah.
entire Infinity life. Yes, they won't get guts, and yes, they don't have fire teams, but it's a good starting point. I think 150 for somebody who has an idea of how Infinity works. Like, I mean, when I first started, like when I was going for a game, I just read the rulebook. And if you've got someone who's read the rulebook, who's really into it, who has a decent understanding of the order of the game,
Mm-hmm.
150 is probably a good spot to start them with. I think my first game was 200 points.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Val? What's your thoughts on
Um,
playing Code
between
One?
the two, I'd go Code One. If you could, I'd go Code One. I think the profiles
Just for
are
new players or for everybody?
for this point format. You're
Yeah.
saying, or
Sorry, you're saying I'm saying I guess Recon Plus versus Code One, but in what context are you referring to choosing Code
new
One?
players,
For new players. Yeah. Okay.
100%. Yeah, Code One for me for sure. I think the profiles are specifically rejigged. There's other rules
Yeah.
to provide you the exact foundational things that foundational rule. It only keeps the fundamental rules you need to kind of understand the game. I
Mm.
think Code One is the more viable one for me.
Yeah, I think I agree.
It- it-
After playing this weekend, I feel like that event may have gone smoother if it was run Code One. Now there obviously are really obvious problems with Code One.
Have like 12 players if it was Code One, unfortunately.
Uh, Well, yeah,
Probably.
I mean, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, like Code One has issues in people who actually want to play it. People who don't have, well, for starters, Code One has problems with people wanting to play it. One, because the rule set is different to N4 in that there are no guts, there's no smoke, there's no repeaters, there's no coordinated orders, there's no command tokens, there's no fire teams. There's no there's only two hacking programs. There's a whole bunch of, and there's also not as many armies. Like I couldn't have played Starco. I mean, I could have played Nomads.
Couldn't play ISS.
You couldn't play ISS. You can't play OSS. Now you can make it work. Obviously, Starco could just be Nomads. ISS is just Yu Jing, and then you kind of proxy some things. But who the poor bastard who's picked up Toha or GSA as a new player is going to have to play something else. So that's the issue, and you're right. I think if we had made it a Code 1 event, we may have only had half as many players show up. But at the same time, we probably would have still had the same number of new players, which was what the event was squarely aimed at. So it's a tough one. I don't think it was a bad event by any means. I think it was a great event.
That was a fucking awesome.
Yeah,
event.
it was a great
really
event. But after playing that format, I do see more of a reason to run Code 1, at least for brand new players who maybe have played less than half a dozen games. I think it is important to consider Code 1 for their brain, for their enjoyment of the game, because it's very quick. It's very easy to give somebody a bad game running 150 with all of the rules that you've got.
No, you have to be very conscious in the way you do the demo for if you're going to use the full rules.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy.
No, it's not always easy. Like as I've explained, I thought I was taking I thought I was taking a week list, and I was like, oh shit, actually, yeah, this is kind of hard.
Yeah.
And
And
that's some obviously lots of learning experiences in Geelong as well, like where you had options and you have to realize like, okay, like let's just not bother with this. We'll just do this.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, it takes time.
There is with like if you're a veteran player teaching someone new, there are you do have to be conscious throughout the entire game of not just playing the game of Infinity, but when to stop or hold back or do something that I remember in my game. I did something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I looked at it and go, my next turn will be showing him how medkits work by showing a medkit and seeing how it works.
You have to be like you have to be like a chess engine and just choosing like the fifth best thing to do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
That's basically what you want to be doing.
That's not a bad way of looking at it.
The one thing I wanted to ask though is, with that event being so successful, 26 players, that's a huge result. How do we build on that momentum?
I think just run other, maybe a yearly slow growth. Because it also, I think it also tickles for the veteran player that if it was me, you're looking at Hark Islam or something that just came out, and you think, oh yeah, I'd like to pick that up and slowly put it together. I think if we do regular slow grows, and everyone keeps having a good time, hopefully those new players talk to someone else who might be interested, and then every year we get, I think if you get 4 new players a year, given how big Melbourne is already, that's probably hitting, saturation.
Yeah, well, it's not just about. Sorry, Val, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it was, if for a veteran player, it was a great palate cleanser, if anything.
Well. And we all need that from time to time from veterans. But what you were saying about running one slow grow a year, well, that's fine for the new players. But what about retaining the players that we have?
That's what I was trying to get at as well.
And that's kind of what Peter is doing by running three. Is kind of trying to build them up. But what you don't want to do is, well, what we've done is obviously in like the 4 weeks in the lead up to the first event, we were having 3 games a week. Depending on where you were in the city, I think almost everyone was playing 150 points. So if you're a new player, no matter where you went, you could get a 150 point game.
Yeah.
Now we need to carry that on for the next event. Make sure people are getting those games in at that point
Thursday
level,
night.
and then so that hopefully they're ready by round 3. Now, one thing that just came to my mind that would really help to cement this kind of mentoring, I guess, of new players is if we run a league.
A
locally.
league would be fucking great. That would be
Because
a fun idea in the
because
future.
then it's weekly games. You know who you're
Yes.
playing.
Can
You
you?
know what you're playing, and
Huh?
it can be, and like, I mean, we could do a 200-point league, right? Depending on
Yeah.
who wants to enter, we could run a 300-point league. But also it would also be in the fact that you are kind of getting like a weekly game, or even like one game every 2 weeks, depending on how quickly we do it.
Mhm.
And you know who you're
Just
playing,
rem-
and you
just
can
rem-
talk about it.
Can you
Well,
just remind me what's a league?
Well, I mean, a league can be a bunch of different
Schedule.
things, but it's just scheduled games. So,
Schedule
you know,
game.
Okay.
yeah. So
It
you,
forces people. Oh, sorry, yeah.
sorry, just saying, like, if it's three of us, then we'll well, not three, maybe there's four of us, right? And it's just a round robin style thing where
Right.
we each play each other over the course of 8 weeks, and then whoever has the most, just like AFL or whatever, you just play everyone,
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
gotcha.
whoever has the most
Yeah.
amount of wins after 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is crowned the winner. But you're playing somebody
Exactly.
new every week or every
The
2
big
weeks,
one. That's the big one.
it's a different mission. And you can also use that week to like kind of list build and talk to your people, and you can kind of get ideas and you get some juices flowing. Now, which is like you can get that out of a weekly game as well, but also having the structure of a league means that you are kind of engaged, right? To have a game every week. It's not just like rocking up going, is anyone going to give me a game this week? Especially if you're a new player,
Exactly.
you might not get that game because maybe all the veterans have paired off against each other because
Exactly.
CanCon's coming up, and they don't want to play a new
They
player.
just want to go.
But
Exactly
if
right.
you can convince
Exactly.
a couple of new players to join a league, then they get some games with new players, they get some games with veteran players, and you also feel part of the community more. So I think just talking as I'm talking, I'm thinking that's what we should do. Maybe even in the new year after CanCon, start a league
Absolutely. Start a league, and the league is a big benefit to the community.
and run it every
In the
quarter or
sense,
something like that. Like I think
yeah, having
IGL
a
do that, right, with their seasons. I think they run one every quarter online, and I think that's a really good way of community building and getting people
exactly.
regular games.
And Doug
Yeah.
can keep his fucking regular games for the day.
Doug.
And you know what?
Yeah.
The coward. I'm like, you know what, Doug? The only way we can settle this is if we grudge round one of the next event of the 225. He's like, no, I have a birthday, I can't go. Chicken down.
Oh man,
Yeah.
the salt is like the salt
Yeah,
is
I don't think I've ever
ISS
seen Val quite so angry about
the
something.
Yujing salt is like because he's just not
Yeah.
used to he just hasn't
Go on
won.
the forums next.
Yeah,
I know I've never won a tournament. I just want to win a tournament. God damn it! I've been fourth for so long, and now I'm getting second for how long? And
You
just
know,
wait. They're gonna update Imperial Service. I'm gonna have to drop them, and then God knows what's next, Bakuna or something.
Oh, excuse me. All right, before we go, I had one more question I wanted to ask you, and it's a pertinent question, and I have heard people online have different views on it. But what about the table size? Do we think that maybe 150 could be played on a 4x4, and how that would change the game?
I don't think it'd be as fun.
I don't know if I'd say 4x4, but I do think, especially because I was actually thinking about that.
Because that means you
I was
don't
looking
have
at that- I was
to
looking at
think
it-
about profiles in the same way. You can run an HMG, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're
I
not.
would,
Especially
I would-
if you've just picked up a battle pack that's got like the Kappa sniper in it, and
Yeah.
you rock up to 150 point game and it's like on a tiny board, and you're like, well, this Kappa sniper's useless. Like you maybe can just stick with the 4x4s, which I forgot to mention. One of the handy things about 150 was the amount of people that had the 2-player starter sets sitting around. We had a whole bunch of those posters you get in the box set are 24 by 32, because what some people have said, that the annoying thing about doing small games is you got to like mark out the table, but those mats are the right size.
Perfect.
So
They'd be a geniuses.
but I do wonder if 4x4 would be maybe better, or not better,
No.
but
I don't think 4x4, 3x3 maybe, but I think 2x3.
maybe 3x3.
It keeps that punchy.
I like
3x3 might
3x3.
be
I like 3x3. That's a good one, because the problem is if you make it too wide, and like I don't think I've ever played an Infinity game where I haven't felt I need to at least cover the left and the right side. If you have it too wide, 150 points, you're just gonna the person who's gonna go first might just be able to like punch their way through. Or something like that. I think that if you just went like a little bit wider, like you said, a 3x3, I think that's a good balance. I think the current table is just a little bit small. It makes templates and short range weapons feel like they reach too far.
Yeah, but the aim of that 150 is just to get it's punchy. It's just to get reps in. It's all just about getting reps to get the mechanics down. That's the point of 150.
It
Like,
just feels like a different
Yeah,
game.
it's a different
It doesn't
game.
feel like
You're right.
Infinity.
It's a
no, but
very
it feels like
different game.
Infinity.
It does feel like Infinity, but it's a very different game. And I think that
It
just
is,
needs to
it
be
is, and that's what makes it really fun
that just
or
needs to
interesting.
be. I mean, then it's the same thing as Code One as in many ways as well, because profiles that are good in Code One are shite in four, and vice versa. So you're always going to have that transition. But I just feel like 150 does make you look at different profiles. So if you put it on a 4x4, then or a 3x3, you might at least go, well, still the HMG is still useful, or the sniper is still useful.
Yeah.
But that's something to take. That's something to look at. I thought it might be useful. It might be good. And from a TO perspective, the weekend was really easy to set tables up because setting them up on a 2x3, you just kind of like throw some buildings down and you've already filled up the table. And you're like, cool, that table's done. Like you didn't have to really think about it too much, which was great for setup and pack down because we got it done real quick.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to play some 150 in the future with some veterans just like as like just a couple of casual games just Thursday night or something. I'd definitely be down for that.
Maybe we'll run a like a day, like maybe not necessarily a tournament, but we can run a maybe once I get my house warming, we can set up a few tables at this place and throw down like half a dozen 150-point games.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be seeing some people in Geelong this Friday night, so I'll probably have a game with Dan, I think. So why
Cool.
not? Just something punchy. So yeah.
Cool.
Be some
So
fun times.
on that, we'll wrap it up there, I reckon. Do we have any just sort of last things we forgot to mention, or anything you wanna just remind our listeners about before we sign off?
No, not from me. ISS is great, believe. That's my only thing, I guess.
Until they get done up.
I, th-
The rework, yeah.
I think this is a good example though of like change up. Infinity can be more than just 300 points. I mean, we obviously
absolutely.
have our 400-point tournament that we have sometimes. I think it's worth challenge yourself, step out of not even necessarily your comfort zone, just your
Have fun.
your normal zone and try something different. Right?
Yeah.
Do those 150, 200 point and do the 400 point games. Ask your opponent whether they want to put in one of the extras. Play the red classified deck.
No, don't play that. Nah, do whatever you want. Do
I've
whatever
been getting
you want.
shit about wanting to play the red classified deck from everybody.
It's really nothing special. It's just -3.
No,
That's all it is. It's
I
just
think
giving yourself -3.
I think can you guys still hear me? Oh yeah. I think
Yeah.
what were you saying? Yeah, I think taking players out of their comfort zone is something that needs to be done more. The drive for playing competitively is very strong. So if people if people have a format that's slightly off the norm, then you will alienate some players. But I think people just need to get over themselves a little bit and branch out and try other formats because it's fun. And that's
that's the aim. That's the aim of the game.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone
figure out
wants
how to play doubles.
Not everyone wants to play that all the time. I think people obviously do. It's a competitive game, right? So it makes sense that it is a competitive rule set and that you play competitively at 300 points. We can all agree that 150 points is not competitive. We can all agree that Code 1 is not for competitive players, but it's fun to take yourself out of that every now and again and look at the game at another way, especially if you're getting burnt out with playing the same stuff over and over. This is a great way to give yourself a bit of a refresh and another angle at the game. So highly recommend it. Would definitely play again.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Because at the end of the day, it's just fun. And yeah, that's the aim. And sometimes it's hard to realize that Infinity can be really fun outside that 300-point bracket. So yeah, it was really fun to do.
Yep, absolutely. All right, okay. Well, on that note, we will sign off. So you've been listening to Loss of Lieutenant. My name's Kevin.
Jacob.
And Val.
Good night.
No.
Oh, you're gonna put.
I was just putting the intro there, so the intro was like just. I was waiting for the drum bit. Anyway, bye. Oh shit! Hang on. How do I stop this?